first investment I made last year, and I it was in boxes for a little bit just because I didn't have time to do it. I shouldn't say I didn't have time. I didn't make time.
Yeah.
And with that, I don't know, it just happened when I was supposed to, and then learned the software, and then I upgraded my software on the computer, and trying to learn that, like a new DaVinci Resolve. Like, that's a beast. That's the one they do all the Hollywood movies with and shit. I'm pretty sure you know. I'm probably talking. You probably know more than me, but yeah, learning all that. You know, it's just been a huge learning curve. But
it's cool because I saw like your podcast when you first started, and like it was just like you couldn't hear the conversation too good.
Yeah.
And then like seeing it now is pretty sick.
Oh, that's cool, man. Yeah, I haven't even gone back and looked at them.
Just seeing like the progression.
Yeah, that's cool, dude.
I like seeing that.
That's cool. I should do that. I just don't, because once I put it out there, I don't want to think about it again. I just move on to the next project.
Like to me, it's like when you see like, I guess where you started from to now, it's like you kind of be more grateful for like where you're at now. Cause like it's so much like it's just different. Like
that's cool, man. I appreciate that feedback because that's not something I focus on, you know. And it's not for nothing. It's just, I think with me, I do so many different projects. I mean, I'm pretty sure you do too. It seems like you're a similar character where I know you do like, you know, filming, you do like photography. Yeah. You also ride bikes, you know, both BMX and mountain bikes. So we'll just kind of get into it. So for those you don't know, welcome back, everyone. This is John Castillo. I met him a couple years back, maybe a year or so.
About like a year and a half.
About a year and a half ago. He's friends with Gino. We had Gino on the podcast earlier, I'd say a few episodes ago. And this is something John and I and Gino and all of us kind of just been talking about for a while, but I usually don't force things. It just happens when it's supposed to. So yeah, here he is. We just had some food, and we had a pretty good conversation in the kitchen, and then just kind of carry it over to here. But yeah, I appreciate that feedback. It's not something I ever like really think about. You know, it's just if anything, I think for most people, like I don't know, I don't want to speak for you, but I tend to focus on like the negative parts of it, just because I'm like, damn, I messed up right there. The audio sounds like crap. But the closest thing I got to that was there was one podcast where I usually used to have people wear lapels, and like just because that's what my upgrade was at the time. It was like an in between, my stepping stone for audio to improve it. And something happened. On the software, it comes like with a template, and I just need to create my own template, but it'll come with the template where it has like a sound effect and something else. So I forgot to take those out because it's like off the screen. Yeah. And then when I was playing the audio back, it was like pew, 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 or something. It was something like cheesy and stupid. So what? Like luckily I had the lapel mic audio, and then I back-to-back sound, and I was like, this is the lapel mic, and I'm not knocking it. I mean, you use what you got. Yeah. But when I listened to it compared to these, I was like, dude. And I'm pretty sure that you could probably get mics that are like 10 times better than this. And it's just like you'll be able to hear even the better sound. And probably I got to do some soundproof matting. But yeah, man, this is what I got right now. So yeah, welcome, man. I appreciate you coming.
Thanks for having me out here.
Yeah, man. So I guess first things first, like on the radar right now, are you doing the race on Saturday?
Saturday, yeah.
Nice.
I'm pretty stuck on that because it's like I have like this mindset of like trying to get podium.
Oh, nice.
I know because when I first started riding the mountain bike, I was kind of at a point where like I guess since my background is BMX, and so like with me, I was like, oh, I got this. Like so, I think I did one of the classes that was like too advanced for me. Yeah. And I was like, dude, I'm over here like on like 45 out of like like 50. Like I'm like really down there. Yeah, but I guess I just jumped ahead of like the the beginning stages, the amateur or whatever. Wherever it goes. And then I was like, dude, I'm not fast at all. Like, so I had to like step back down and start fresh because since I was new to this hobby, or this riding, whatever. I was just like, man, like, should I step down, like just so I could see where I'm at, like, just so I could see like my progression, like.
Yeah, I got you.
And so my goal is to get podium. Like, it'd be pretty cool because I think the closest I got was like 6th place. Yeah. And so that was like, dude, that's pretty sick. Like. Yeah,
like that's the closest I've gotten more recently. The Waco race I did, I placed 6th, but I ate it pretty bad on that one. So I'm supposed to do the race this Saturday as well. I'm signed up. I'm in. What class are you in?
I did beginners.
Beginners?
Yeah, I'm gonna try that because I think all the ones I've done was like I guess I don't know how it goes, but
they vary. Like so, Team Trail Party, like the way they label the categories is different from like set or anything else.
So I noticed that. So like when I saw beginner, I was like, should I be in beginner? I had called Gino. I was like, bro, like they have beginner classes, like or whatever. Like, should I do it? He's like, do it and see like where you stand at, and then that would tell you where you need to be at.
Yeah. So you're doing beginger for this race, okay?
Just so I could kind of like start fresh because I think the other one was like amateur, and it was like a whole bunch of people. So I don't know who was faster.
Yeah, but at the end of the day, like I remember, like at the end of the day, like the time's the time. Yeah. It doesn't matter. You can do pro, which I did one year, and I wasn't trying to be cocky. It's just that's what it was. You know, I just like let me see if I can rise to the level of like, you know, would I ride better? That wasn't the case. Yeah. But like just by default, I got third. So I really didn't count that. But on top of that, it's like, and it's funny. I've talked about this before, but like you see people like in the amateur class, and then like if they're like blowing everybody out of the water, they call them sandbags, and vice versa. You see people join like a pro class, and like, oh, he thinks he's good or whatever. And so there's that like back and forth. But at the end of the day, your time is your time.
Yeah, it's funny because like when I first got into like racing, whatever, I was like, I was telling Junior, I was like, what's sandbag? Like, what is it?
Yeah.
And then like, everyone would just say it like out loud and whatever. But he finally told me what it was, and I was like, oh, whatever. Like, yeah. It is what it is. It's like as long as like you're progressing, like you're beating your own time, then you're good. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying. And like I don't know, when I first started racing, it was just kind of like I was taking it serious. I was applying different like ways of dealing with approaching competition with the same ways, and it's not the same. Like it's just keep it between the tape and just have a good time, you know. And one thing that's good about it's not like, and I'm not knocking cross country or nothing, but I see with cross country, you're like racing all at the same time, and people are like pushing each other. And,
it's really aggressive.
Yeah, so I don't think that would be for me. Yeah. But either way, to each their own. But yeah, so did you ever hear like sandbagging in CrossFit? Did everybody ever use that?
Because the CrossFit when that was more like I just kind of jumped into it with the CrossFit thing just because like I would go to the gym a lot. My girl was not like really about it. Yeah. Until we started going to the gym that we go now. Mm-hmm. And then so like by her going and seeing her like loving, like having the passion for it. Yeah. It was kind of like, dang, that's pretty sick. Like, so like it kind of pushed me to do more of it too. And then she was like, when I started doing the races, she was like trying to push me to do the race. And I was like, no, I'm not ready, whatever. Yeah. And then so anyways, I ended up doing the race, and then like maybe like a couple months later, a CrossFit like competition came around, and I was like, "Now you do it now, like yeah, you're pushing me, and I'm gonna push you." So she did it, and she did good, and that's then cool. She's ready. Yeah. But just the fact that I see like the passion that she has for it, and like the love, it's just like seeing that it's kind of like it.
It's inspiring. Yeah,
it's inspiring. Yeah, and, like just seeing like your other half kind of like enjoying something. Because at first I was kind of like, you always ride bikes, you always do this, and you're always with your friends. I'm like, well, go do something. Like do something that you love. Yeah. And then she got into the CrossFit, and she loves it now. So it's like a passion for her now. So
no, that's cool. I mean, and that's. I remember I had somebody on the podcast, and he's a gym owner or box owner. And we got into that discussion, like relationships, and like how certain relationships, like they kind of just stick out like in a gym or a competitive environment where one would be succeeding, the other one's kind of like hating, you know, in the corner. So it's cool to like hear that, like, and that's the way me and Sandy are, like, is we try to like push each other by through our passions, but in a way that, I don't know, I know what you're talking about, because it's like you don't need to use words. You just kind of like, you know what? Because that's how I think that's how most. I don't think that's how they should be, but we'd be in a better place if people were like actually kind of looked at their partner or like their friends and like they're succeeding. Like, fuck yeah, I mean, I'm gonna do that too. You know, I'm gonna get better at whatever it is, or I'm gonna go seek what I'm trying to do, as opposed to trying to like bring them down or like talk trash or whatever. But that's cool, man. Yeah. So Sandy, I think she started doing CrossFit first. I started doing like it wasn't called CrossFit at the time, but through high school, I played football and baseball, and then like in the military, I would play like random sports, and I would always like lift weights and stuff. But that was just kind of like the jock mindset, just like move heavy things and whatever. But and then that kind of shifted. I played a little bit of sports, some volleyball, like sand volleyball and stuff. But depending on where I was at, whatever opportunities presented themselves.
Yeah.
And then our last duty station, we got into. She got into. I believe it was her getting into the box first on base to CrossFit. And that's how I kind of got introduced to it, but I kind of went in like begrudgingly, because I had a number of different reasons. But like one thing I didn't understand, like why they were dropping weights and shit.
Yeah.
But those are like little things.
Yeah.
But I got over that, and I found that the long conditioning, like the AMRAPs and like the chippers and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, they sucked, but afterwards I always just felt like so accomplished.
Yeah.
And then I would see that with her. She started doing competitions there, and then I started doing them with her, and that was cool. And I don't know. I think sometimes in some relationships you get what's the word? Like, I don't want to say spoiled, but you just start not to appreciate them as much.
Yeah.
Just because that's human nature. And then like you see them do something like, holy fuck, I don't know if I could do that.
Yeah.
And then that just kind of brings out something, like, oh yeah, she's badass, whatever. And vice versa, I'm sure.
That's how it is with my girl. Like, there's some part, like some stuff that like she will kill me on it. Like, she'll outdo me like crazy. I'm like, girl, like, how do you do that? Like, I'm over here like all like tired out. Like, she's like doing multiple rounds, and I'm like, dude, that's crazy. But it's just like we have different like strong points in like CrossFit.
Yeah,
like,
man.
It has like endurance, and then like I guess more reps, and I'm over here like doing less reps, but I'm like, I just get tired.
Yeah.
It's just really like kind of like at a point where like it's just, I don't know, just kind of like that, this seeing that, like we just push each other.
Yeah.
Helps us out too.
That's good, man. That's awesome. It sounds like a healthy relationship, which is good. But yeah, it's the competitions, and then like kind of like fast forward, like I kind of started phasing out of CrossFit. I mean, I still do it like from time to time.
Yeah.
And because it's like one of those things, right? You learn all these things throughout your life, and then you don't just throw them away. Like some things work for you, so you kind of just keep them around, and then you just do them every so often. When I don't know, like I like to change things up because I don't want to say I get bored really easy, but I guess I don't know if bored's the right word, but I just feel like I lead in a lot of diversity in my life as far as like either workouts or like being creative in different ways, or like just trying different stuff. But with that, like one of those things is like, mountain biking, and that's how I met you. And I know you did BMX in the past. Like, what was that transition like from going from BMX to? I asked Gino the same thing. But.
So like with me, like I rode BMX since I was like probably like in middle school.
Yeah.
And I done it since. I mean, till now, to this day, I still ride. I don't ride as much. Like I should, whatever, but. It's just like kind of like my generation that I grew up with kind of died out. And so I'm like solo. Like it's just like it's not the same like when you're with your homies riding.
Yeah.
Like when you're like older, I mean younger, you're riding with your homies and stuff. So it's like you live for that. I'm saying like it's like damn, it's just sick. Like my homies are riding together, riding the street, whatever. But now I don't have that. Everyone's just working now and living life, whatever.
Yeah.
So like it kind of put me in a spot where like it kind of like died out. Like I didn't want it to die out either for me because I still had that passion. And so I went through like a phase of like not riding for a while, kind of like whatever. Like it is what it is. It's life.
And you still have a BMX bike?
Yeah.
Nice. You still go?
Yeah, I actually went yesterday to do like a photo shoot yesterday.
Oh, nice.
So. Yeah, so like I've been riding for BMX for like about 14 years. No, not 14.
It's been a minute.
It's been a while.
Yeah.
I want to say like since 2006.
2006. That's a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, the closest thing I got to BMX was like my Huffy, like in elementary or whatever. and that was just trying to jump curbs and just random ramps and shit that we would throw together. But like, so you started riding BMX, and then like mountain bikes. You started
like mountain bikes. This has been like maybe like a year and a half in already.
Nice.
I just started.
And what was the transition like with that?
It was cool. It was different because like, so I'm so used to like the BMX, like me doing all the work and me like just doing work on it. Like I have to like put in work for the BMX bike.
Oh, because
like,
there's no suspension.
Yeah, no suspension. Like your knees, your whole body's a suspension. You're saying
right.
So like when I got onto this bike, I was like, dude, this is sick. Like this is full suspension. Like this is rowdy. But the difference between the BMX and the mountain bike is the fact that you kind of rely more on the mountain bike to do the work.
Oh, gotcha.
Like to lean into it, like to trust the bike. And I'm like, dude, this is really hard to accept because
you have to let go of control.
Yeah, like you let,
to a certain extent.
Yeah, you have to like kind of let the bike, like let the suspension kind of like dig into the dirt and take the turns and the jumps, whatever.
Yeah.
And then on the BMX, it's like you're doing all the work. You're pulling. You're picking up your feet. Like that was like the hard transition because I was like kind of second guessing everything when I ride the mountain bike.
That's one thing I've been trying to learn too. Is as you're talking about, I'm thinking like that's one of the things I'm at right now is like it's not only just trusting the bike. I'm still settling into my bike.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it's like the tires you have, the soil that you're riding on, like how loose it is, and then even then you don't know, right?
Yeah.
Like I was in we went to Angel Fire last weekend. And we were doing, if you haven't been, but there's like one line called Da Vinci's Code, and there's some tight switchbacks. And I had just did the run like just earlier, or maybe actually a more challenging run, Angel's Plunge. I love that line. But anyways, it was loose and chunky and all kinds of stuff, probably even tighter, Angel's Plunge was. And on Da Vinci's Code, like I turned on this like sharp turn, and my front tire just washed out. Like, you know what I mean? And I thought I was pushing down on the handlebars and everything. But so that always kind of creeps into the back of your mind. You can be riding and then just something like that just happens. And then you're having to like trust it again or just be more mindful in the turns.
Yeah. Because you know, it's like, just like push into it. Like use the berm. Like, and I'm like, dude, like I do that. Like I'll get the hang of it. Then I'll have this one washout. Yeah. Just because I'm doing it too much. And it's like, go back to square one again, like calm it down a little bit. But it's like really to a point where like it's really to this day it's still hard to trust that bike. Like, I don't have like full like trust in it. Yeah,
and that's the biggest thing. Like that's why like whenever my bike's making noise, is like I can't. It gets in my head because I feel like something's gonna break or it's just so that when I actually wrench on my bike and everything else, I have more confidence in it, right? Because I know what it's all like, what's wrong with it, and what's like where the fail safes are, at least to my knowledge. But do you work on your own bike? Or you take it?
Gino.
Huh? Gino mechanic.
Yeah,
dude, man.
Even to the BMX bike, bro. Like I any kind of bike, like I suck at building bikes. Like building it, fixing it. Like I just ride the bike. And I don't maintain my bike. Like the bike that I have, the BMX bike I have now, like I had the same parts for years. Never took them off, never greased it. Like,
well, that's because I think you're used to that from BMX.
Yeah, so I leave it the way it is. Like, the only time I change it out if it's broken, whatever. But like maintenance wise, I never maintenance. Like it's all Gino.
Oil, nothing. So nice. Well, that's nice to have your own personal mechanic.
Yeah. So shout out to Gino.
But, Gino getting in the extra experience with John's bike.
Yeah, for real. Dude, I always like every time we'll like ride, I'll leave my bike at his house like for weeks.
Yeah,
like as a storage room.
Yeah,
and then I'll pick it up whenever we go ride again. Cause I don't ride the BMX bike. I mean the mountain bike as like I should, so I can practice for racing. But it's just funny like how it's like a normal thing where I like leave my bike there for like weeks.
Yeah,
and then I'll pick it up to go ride. But to me, it's more convenient because instead of like, if they invite me to go ride, I would just go pick up the bike at Gino's instead of going all the way home, like almost an hour away.
Oh.
And then coming all the way, and it's like a waste of time. Like,
yeah, well, that makes sense because you just save a lot of time and then probably gas, especially nowadays.
Yeah.
So, excuse me. Do you think you get like I've seen like some of your photography and stuff, and I've seen like the videos you make and like Like what originated that idea? Like when did you start doing that?
I don't know. 'Cause I guess just the fact that I always like people always film me like riding BMX and making like videos and stuff for my sponsors. It just came to a point where like it was normal, and then so I started picking up the camera, started doing some little videos and stuff for like events, and then I'll post them up, whatever, and people will give me compliments or like, who did this video? And I was like, it was me. So like by me like not really like advertising it, it kind of like it showed me like, hey, like people actually like it, and I'm not really like doing it like to do it like for money, whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, well, I won't hurt to try for money, like this.
And that's the freedom with it, right?
Yeah.
Like, if you just do something for like something you enjoy, kind of like this podcast, I don't make any money off of it, but at the same time, it's
not
like,
yet.
yeah. So it gives you like the freedom to do whatever, right? Because like nobody's like holding your feet to the fire, like like here you got to produce this much content or whatever. You're just kind of free to create whenever you want.
And that's the thing too. Is like that's like one of the things. Like if you love doing something, like just do it. Like don't worry about the money. Like money will come around. One way or another, it's gonna come around. But it's the fact that if you do it and you have a passion for it, the love for it, then it's like it makes it so much better. Like even with money or without it, like it's like it's something that you cherish and that's why I like the filming too. Like I mean, it don't take much out of it. Just you have like a vision of it. You film it the way you want to film it, and then if they like it, they like it.
Yeah, like and that's kind of what I said when I started this. Like I had to remember why I started in the beginning, and then like I just try to keep, because I've thought about quitting this like a lot of times, just because I don't know, just certain things happen in your life or what have you, and it's just like, and then like not, initially it was kind of like I guess trying to watch the metrics of it. Yeah. Of like, I don't know, like viewers and stuff like that. Oh, yeah. But then I had to go back. Why the fuck did you start this in the first place? Yeah. And then once I kind of came, I was just like, whatever. I'm just gonna put it out there. And if anything happens with it, it does. If it doesn't, it doesn't. I really don't. It's not that I don't care, but it's just like I ain't got time for that. I'm just gonna keep doing it and just try to get it better each time. And the same thing with mountain biking. Same thing with I picked up archery too. Okay. I started doing that. That's it. And it was just these things to try to like gain the skill set to be more, I guess what's the word, like independent, I guess, in one way. Like so the bow hunting would be like to eventually get good enough where I can start going to hunt for my own food, and start processing it all and all these things, just I don't know, it's just I want to be more sustainable. Oh yeah,
that's something good to know.
Yeah, I mean, you know what I mean,
because people don't know that.
Yeah, exactly. And I don't know, like a bow,
if you have like a gun, like once you run out of ammo, what do you do now?
Yeah, it's true. I know. I was even thinking about trying to make my own bow, but it's like if I grab the wrong stick or something, it's gonna break and hit me in the freaking face. Do you go hunting at all or anything?
Nah, my grandpa used to go hunting a lot. I remember like little things of like going out and stuff like that, but I don't do it. Mm-hmm. Like I'm kind of slacking on that piece because it'd be nice to learn how to like do like kill animal and skin it, whatever. I don't know how to do none of that stuff. So
and I don't know. I think what kind of like it's always been like a natural curiosity of mine, or to try to do that and try to learn it. Probably more so lately. It's in the past few years or so. Mm-hmm. My brother hunts, so I've gone out with him a couple of times, and we had the opportunity, but something scared him away. But not him away, the animals. Something scared my brother away. But yeah, it's just trying to learn these things. Oh, I read a book. It was called "And Part of the Summer Moons" about the Comanches and Native Americans, and like when the settlers came in, and like that whole thing is crazy. But when I read about the Comanches and like how awesome they were on horseback, they would just like with no saddle or nothing. They were just like hanging off the side of their horses, holding on to their hair, their mane, and then with the back of their feet, holding on to the horse, and then like covering. I guess so they had like a sling around the horse's neck, so they would go around, and then they would fire from the side of the horse. And
that's sick. I
don't know, and then there's something that kind of clicked in me a while back, because like if you can see one person do it, I mean, and you're relatively in the same athletic, capability, and then if that person can learn to do it, then you can learn to do it because you're
yeah.
pretty much the same physiology.
Yeah.
So that kind of like sparked something in me. So I bought a bow online, and I just got like a target. Granted, I don't have a horse back there or nothing, but
pony.
Yeah, pony. I got one of those little miniature horses firing off the side. No, but yeah, I mean that's the next thing I want to learn too is how to ride a horse. You know, maybe I can get an opportunity. I had Nina on, and she's starting up a Rustic Ranch, Texas.
I saw that one.
Man, she's cool people, dude. She's getting her doctorate right now, but I've gone out there, and she's grew up with horses, and we've seen you probably know. But yeah, that on. But I want to learn how to ride a horse. You know, that'd be pretty cool. I did it when I was younger, but I didn't know what I was doing. Yeah. You know, I was in basketball shorts, which I don't recommend at all.
Yeah. I actually rode a horse maybe 2 months ago just to get on there. Mm-hmm. And because it was my girl's, I guess uncle.
Oh, okay.
And
I thought you were gonna say your girl's birthday party.
No, no, it was there. He has 10 acres or something like that.
Oh, cool.
And so he has 2 horses, and he's like, "You want to get on it?" I was like, "I'm down."
Yeah.
But it's kind of scary because I'm like, dude, this is because the horses have their own mind of their own.
Yeah, exactly.
So they could split if they want to. I don't know what they're thinking.
Exactly.
They're like, just turn this way and turn this way. I'll turn and your feet and pull back. And I'm like, bro, yeah, but what happens if he gets mad? I just don't know. He was saying that's something that's I have my mind.
No,
he has his mind.
No, and that's a perfectly way to see perfectly good way to see it and understand it because that is true, and that's one thing she was talking about. I don't know if she talked about on the podcast or it was a conversation we had afterwards or before, but the horses, they could feel the arteries in your you're in your thighs. So depending how if you're scared, it's gonna feel that and it reacts to the way you're reacting.
That's rowdy.
Yeah, you know what I mean. And so if you're not in one with the horse and have the confidence, then it's not gonna trust you. Yeah. It's just gonna try to buck you off, or especially if you're I don't know, you're having a panic attack on top, and he's like, "What the fuck? Get off me!" You know what I mean?
It's funny because when I was on the horse, I was going around in circles, right? Around the little horse corral. Yeah. And I was going, and then I didn't turn the head, so I kept going straight into the fence. And I'm like, dude, does this horse know when to stop, not to hit the fence? Because I'm trying to go, and I'm I guess I'm not doing it right with the rope. And he's just going towards the fence, and I'm trying to step back. Yeah. But he's just going and going, and I'm and he finally stopped. But in my mind, I'm like, are you gonna stop? Or do I have to stop you? Or is it just jump over? I don't know. It was kind of I guess my mind was going crazy because didn't know what was gonna happen. That's
another thing she told me was that in mountain biking, your head goes where your head goes, the bike goes, or vice versa. Where your head goes, the horse goes. So if you're looking this way, then the horse will go that way. I guess because maybe when you turn your head, the weight of your body shifts or what have you. So it's the same thing. Yeah. And that's not something I knew beforehand.
Yeah, that's crazy though.
Yeah, when I rode a horse, it was just straight line and open field. Yeah. And it was not even that long because once it started galloping, I was in a lot of pain. So, but yeah, I mean, horses is definitely something I want to get to learn. Whether or not I'm going to be hanging off the side, I mean, only time will tell. But so with art, I mean, I imagine that photography is not the only thing you do.
I mean, yeah, I mean.
Do you play music at all?
Nah.
No.
I played guitar a while back, in middle school, but I just never stuck with it because I didn't have the patience for the finger movement, and I just sucked at it. But
no, I did too.
Just the fact that I mean, just passion wise, just riding bikes, and I picked up the photography, videography, whatever you want to call it. Yeah. And that's about it, really. Yeah. And then CrossFit, and then my family and stuff. That's another thing where I kind of focus on them and.
Yeah, so that's one thing I was kind of leading to is your videos and stuff. You're pretty intimate with your showing your family and stuff. It's pretty awesome and refreshing to see. Yeah. I forgot one you did with your grandma. Oh yeah, where she was going downtown. Yeah, dude, that was cool, dude.
So that thing was we had bought a Paleto bike, and I always wanted her to get on the bike with us because every time we have that because there's that Cyclovia thing. I don't know if I said it right, but
Ciclovia.
Yeah. So they have it like 2 times a year or whatever. And my grandma will always go, and we'll just leave her like on the side, like on the corner by a gas station where she could see everybody ride. And then so I was like, man, I'm gonna get her a paleta bike and put a chair on there, and then let her cruise with us. And so I did it, whatever. And then dude, she was like so excited, like she was like, it was just like she loved it, like she wasn't expecting it too.
Yeah.
Because she's so used to just being on the side of the road or whatever.
Yeah.
And I was like, no, like, she needs to come with us, like, experience something different.
Yeah.
And then so we did it, whatever. And then I think after the race, there's going to be another one coming up, so, another bike ride downtown.
When, Sunday?
I think it's, Sunday.
This Sunday? So Saturday, like this Saturday?
It was the 25th. So
it'd be like next week. Okay.
So we're going to get her back on the
dude, that'd be
bike.
cool, dude.
But yeah, that's some of the things, like, just like in family in general, I guess just seeing, like, generations, like my generation, my daughter's generation, my grandma's generation, like seeing like, and then my mom, like like just in generations in general, like just seeing it like play out life.
Yeah.
Like seeing my grandma getting older, like I cherish like a lot of those moments with her, just because you never know what I'm saying.
Yeah.
And then like having my daughter now, that's another generation that to cherish. You know what I'm saying? To see that grow. So
you're pretty much like you see it from like documenting like your family's like life in the sense of like, so that way they could look back on it and be like,
and it's like
the new family photo, I guess.
Just to live like, I guess I feel like a lot of people.
You mind if you slide that over?
Sorry.
Yeah, I just pulled it over. Yeah, there you go. I feel like at times we don't live like in the moment. Right.
And it kind of bothers me, like, man, like we're too caught up with work, we're too caught up with life in general, and then we're not focusing like what's in front of us, like the people in front of us, just the ones that I guess like family in general, like the people that we're with on a daily basis. Like we should have more attention on that than anything else.
Right.
Just because it's like we're not. I mean, because we're not guaranteed another day. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
There's no promise and stuff like that. So it's like why not make it the best like today?
Right.
So it's just like so like with my daughter, my wife, and my whole family in general, it's like I take it more personal.
Right.
To like be in that moment.
That's cool. That's a cool perspective because like I come from the other side of it, and maybe it's the military, maybe there's the way. I'm pretty sure it's a combination of everything, but I really don't like post anything. Like I have a lot of pictures of like me and my kids and stuff, and me and Sandy, but like I really don't post anything because I'm protective. I guess you know what I mean. Just I don't know, because if people want to come after me, then that's fine. But after like family and stuff like that, I don't know. I don't know if that's that's warranted or not.
Well, it to me it's like it's a good I guess it's I don't know what you did like in the military and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But you said military, right?
Yeah, military. Yeah.
It just we have all these thoughts. You have a different thought than I do. I'm saying
right.
And so like I feel like even though I post stuff on Instagram and stuff like that, like I don't do it like to show off or anything like that. It just like. Because those are memories I could have. Yeah,
and it doesn't even come off that way. Yeah. Like I know what you mean because that's why sometimes I don't post certain things, or even when I do post on certain things, like some of the reels and videos I create, they're more from like just I go with what I feel when I'm creating it. It's not like, oh, how's this gonna make me look, and all this stuff. It's more like, hey, this is I'm creating. I'm just throwing it out there. Kind of like these podcasts, right?
Yeah, it's always good to look back and see, like it's just, to me, it's just like. It's another way to like instead of having a bunch of photos, whatever, like back in the day.
Yeah.
But it just if you could do it on their phone, just do it now. Like,
it's
not gonna hurt it.
And there's it's when you're talking about that, it brings up a certain. And I know that's not the reason why you're doing it. Or at least I assume that's not the reason why you're doing it. But there is like a group of people like with anything. I don't know if it's a religion or not, or just like an ideology or just a thought process behind it. But some people intentionally they document their life with the idea that they're going to live forever, like virtually, I guess. I guess, which in a way it's kind of true, depending unless like some catastrophic event happens and then like everything's destroyed. But to a certain extent, that's kind of true. But so that's what I thought about. I know that's not why you're doing that. So, like, I know your family is important to you, and too, and with the kind of discussion we were talking about earlier is just, yeah, and that's one thing that I was talking to somebody else about. Like, I was like, I want to kind of get into the conversation of just because of, and we can go with it with whatever way that it goes, but it was just I've been kind of going down these different rabbit holes for a while now. When I first grew up. Not when I first grew up. When I grew up, like, my mom was very religious, I guess, and with the same idea. Like, I remember we used to go to church, like every day. It seemed like we're there, and that's just the way life was, and that's just the way that everything kind of just. I don't know. That's just the way my life was, but it was so, like, I don't want to say forced. I mean, because I'm pretty sure there's the value systems that she learned. She felt like she was doing the right thing, and maybe in hindsight that is true. But with that, it brought up a lot of questions for me, where so much so I would get kicked out of, like, Bible school. And I didn't understand, because I was like, man, I'm like this is Bible school, right? I'm supposed to learn something.
Ask questions.
So, yeah, I kind of ask questions. But either way, it's just like this, like, kind of nuanced, very, like, different life things happen, and certain things and things that I've done in my life, that have kind of just, like, splintered those ideas. And then, of course, with more information and different, like, I don't know, things that are happening in this world and things that I've seen, not to say that I've seen the craziest things, but you can just, I don't know, go across the border, you know what I mean? And you see some stuff.
There's always a bunch of, like, what ifs or what's out there or whatever.
And so there's just, like, but this is one, like, avenue that I've always, like, try to understand more of. And I'm not saying that you have all the questions or all the answers to the questions I have, but it's just like the discussion of it. And any time that I've tried to have any discussion or ask a question, it's usually met with resistance or aggression. And I'm like, I don't get it.
A lot of people, like, they take it, like, personally, where, like, they want to, like argue or, like, debate about, like, their beliefs or, like, and then, like, quote scripture, and just to make you feel like, oh, I know more than you. But to me, that's not the case. I'm saying, like, I just feel like with me, like, so I didn't grow up in the church, whatever. I had a downfall in my life that brought me to God, like, but and, like, in an encounter wise, it wasn't like I didn't go to church, I didn't pick up the Bible, read the Bible, I didn't do none of that. It was just at that moment, like, it's like God showed Himself to me, and I just knew, like, I knew that it was God. Like, that's how, like, powerful, and the encounter was so real at that moment. And so, like, me, I guess, experienced that, whatever, it kind of got me, like, questioning, like, man, like, if I was this low in my life, this lowest part of my life, and I felt this comfort, this peace, this love, this pure love that I cannot explain, like why, like, because it's like, so at that moment that I felt that I was, like, going through, just, like, mentally, like, I was, like, not in the right mindset. Like, I was just, like, I didn't ride bikes no more. I was kind of, like, I was, like, riding bike. I wasn't riding bikes for, like, a whole year. My actual parents, like, fell apart, and then like, so, and it's a lot. So,
it's fine, man. I mean, you can get into it whatever you want to. I mean,
so, like, it's just, like, I guess to break it down, like, in section, was, like, when I graduated high school, I had an opportunity to go to Vegas for, like, a sponsorship, whatever, and I went out for a whole year to Vegas, whatever. Did the whole BMX life. I was living the life that I always wanted. It was saying, like, it was sponsored and everything was paid for, and it was cool, and met a bunch of people, and just filming and writing, whatever. And I was like, this is sick. Like, this is something that, like, I always wanted, whatever. But before I left, whatever, we're having issues with my dad, and my parents were, like, kind of, like, it was just, like, not in a, I guess I left, like, in a point where, like, I left in a point, I mean, in a time where, like, I guess my mom was like, just go do what you love. Like, don't worry about, like, this is my life. Like, go live your life. Yeah. So I did it, whatever. But at that time, we kind of knew, like, what my dad was doing behind my mom. And so we're like, oh, like, let's figure it out. Let's talk it out as a family. It's squash it and move on, right? And so, like, everything was going good. My dad was doing good. And then it just went back downhill again. Like, my dad was doing like, drinking and just
Yeah.
Never come home, whatever. So like, and it over the years ended up being like an issue towards
Right.
like my brothers going to school and doing all this stuff and not being there for them. And then so when I was in Vegas, whatever, my mom was going through a lot more stuff with my dad, and she wasn't telling me until like I was like, all right, like I'm still living my life. And then one day she like called me like, I'm done. I'm over this. Like I don't know what to do no more.
Yeah.
I'm gonna lose this, and I don't have no money, all this stuff, whatever. So I was like, man, like, and even at that time, I was dealing with like a past girlfriend that I was like I just got like my mind was just like I was just,
Yeah.
I was like done. Like I was feel like it was like the end of the world. Like
Yeah.
I didn't have no choices. I didn't know what to do. I was 19. I didn't know nothing. I was just living life, and then I was like, I don't even know what I'm doing here. Like I need to go back home. So I ended up going back home, dealing with all the problems that my mom and my dad was going through. I ended up kicking my dad out of my house, just because I got like to a point where like I was kind of like at a point where like if something happened to my brothers or my mom when I was gone at work, then what would I do?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying, like, what can I do?
you were put in the position where you had to make a choice.
Yeah, and my mom wouldn't do it because she like refused to like believe what was really happening.
Right.
Until like I was like, man, like all the time, I'm like, you don't even need this no more, man. Like you don't deserve this. We need to like move forward. So I kicked my dad out of the house, and then so when I did that, whatever, it just kind of brought like a bunch of like corruption in my mind, like thoughts, and like if something happens to my brothers that they act a certain way, they went wrong the path, it's gonna be your fault. That was my mind. I'm saying, hey, that's gonna be your fault. Like
Like you were telling your brothers that?
No,
or?
that was just me mentally.
Oh, like
talking
telling
to
yourself.
myself.
Got you.
Like it's like the enemy was like telling me, if something happens to your brothers and they go down the wrong path, it's gonna be your fault because like you took away their father figure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So like that was eating me inside for a long time because they were at the time they were like only like they were still babies, like they were still little.
Yeah.
They were like my middle brothers were 9 years apart. So when I was came back 19, whatever, 10 years old, whatever. So like it was just like I always had that bad thought in my mind, like it's gonna be my fault if they screw up or they turn out a certain way. Until I got older and I told them like, hey, like I need to talk to y'all. I need to sit down and talk to y'all because I'm gonna tell you how I feel, and I want to ask for forgiveness if I did y'all wrong, just because I did that at that time. You're saying?
Got you.
And so when all that happened, whenever all of us were broken, my brothers were broken, my mom was broken, I was broken, and so at that time I was like, man, like I was working all the time trying to help my mom with bills and stuff, and at that time too, my mom lost her eyesight on her one side of her eye. She couldn't see, and then she worked at the cafeteria, and that kind of put us in a spot where like she couldn't really work because it was like a hazard because she was in the kitchen. And then so it was like, man, like now it's more struggles, problems after problems after problems.
Right.
And then I didn't know how to deal with it. I was already 20 already. And then
that's a lot to deal with.
Dude, it was a lot. It felt like years, but it was a short period of time.
Right.
But it felt like years of like.
Yeah, because when you're in it, like it's every time like slows down. It seems like, and it's like every day is like the longest day ever.
Yeah. So like when that happened, whatever, that was just like problem after that, and I didn't know how to like accept it. I didn't know how to like deal with it, and so like I was like, and then I started thinking like, man, like if I just end it, then I'm good because I don't have to deal with it no more. But then at the same time, it's like being selfish because then I'm leaving my mom behind, my brothers behind, everybody that loves me. You know what I'm saying? If I end up like taking my life, so there would be times like I'll be driving like booking it on my truck, and I'll try and like swing the truck just hoping it'll flip, and then I did that twice, and then the second time, that's when I had the encounter. I put over it and it was pitch black out in the country, and that was the moment where like I knew that was weird.
Yeah.
It was just at that moment where like God met me where I was at, like in my brokenness, and that was like, man, like there was at that day, like that's what changed my vision of like what God was, it wasn't just like, oh, I know about God.
Right.
Or I knew about God. Like now I have a relationship with Him. I encountered Him. And so that opened the door to like trying out churches. Let's go to church, whatever.
Right.
I go, if me working all hard, trying to make money for my brothers, my mom, and keep like just like bills. I mean, like just so we could live in our house. I mean, just pay bills and saying like if I do that, and that's not helping the situation or different things. We try different things, whatever. It wouldn't work out. I was like, if a doctor can't heal a broken heart, then who can? Like, who else do you go to? Like, how does this play out in life? And saying, how do we get better?
Right.
And then so we started going to church, whatever. And then it was real like there was a lot of I guess when they had like altar calls at the church, it was real personal. It was just you and God. That's it.
Right.
They'll play worship music. If we felt to go up there, we just go up there. And every time we'll go up there, it's like I would have an encounter. My mom would have an encounter. Then little by little, my brothers would have encounters. And then they would just start feeling God in those empty spots that we needed Him in. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And then, over the years, like, we started getting better. Like, it was just like, we started understanding, like, why things happened the way it happened. And then being more thankful and grateful for where we're at in life, not dwelling, like, what we're not at or in life right now, or why we're going through this, and why me, why this, and just why, I'm saying all these questions, but it's like, why worry about, like about tomorrow if it's not even guaranteed tomorrow? Like why put so much pressure on you for, like, you see what I'm saying? Like, just why put too much on you? Like, if it's not even tomorrow yet, like, we're always caught up the day before, the next day,
right?
Living for the next day.
Yeah, like not living in the now.
Yeah. So that's what kind of like we're always worrying about, because we don't have enough money for the next week, or food, and like. Mm-hmm. Like, we'll go get free food from the churches, whatever. Like, even though at the time we didn't go to church, my mom will go get free food over here.
Yeah.
We needed food. And then, so just like little things like started adding up, and then God started moving in our lives. And then when I had my daughter, my mom went to my girls' church, and she went to the altar, and then, like, she got her eyesight back. Not 100%, but she got it back to the point where she could see. It was like, cause at first it was like if you closed your eyes, that's how you could see. Right. Now she could see, but it's like a spot. It's like she's telling me that she could see, like, through her pupil, I guess. But it's like if she's doing this.
Got you.
But it's not like a fully.
It's like, almost like tunnel vision in that eye.
So, but she could see now.
Right.
And so, like, when that happened, it was just like a super, like, natural encounter. Like, it was just like all God, like. It was just really weird to explain, but so, like, all these encounters that we had, that's what I cherish the most. That's what's real in my life. And like I said, like, I didn't pick up the Bible, I didn't go to church, whatever. So, like, that was not like I didn't pick up religion first. You know what I'm saying? I picked up and the encounters first, and then after the encounters, I was like, oh, like, I'm gonna go try out churches. I'm gonna go start reading the Bible. I started reading the Bible and stuff, and I'm like, man, like, all the stuff that the Bible talks about. If I would have knew this a long time ago, I would think I would been on a whole different level, because there's a lot of common sense in the Bible that's like, dang, it would have been helpful in my life. Right. But it just, like, life has to play out the way it does, because it's like we have a free will to choose what we want to do, and we just live life, and that's it. Like, trials come, and we grow old, we go older, we have different friends, we have different thoughts. Like, it's just like we just drift different ways. Right. And so that's one of the things that kind of like, oh, like, shoot, it was just a lot to take in, because it's like, I guess, I started seeing, like, the church for what it is, and I was just like, man, I kind of, like, I wasn't digging it. I was like, this is too much, like, religion, too much.
The church you're going to at post, like, getting the encounter, or like?
No, just in general, like, just
like before.
Yeah, like before, like, all the church stuff. I mean,
so before the encounter, you didn't really understand, like, what the.
Like, why people would go to church.
Got you.
And then, but when I had that encounter, that kind of got me questioning, like, oh, like, oh, I know why now, but it's just like, you have people that are too religious, and then, like, that's what, like, kind of corrupts
Right.
everything's like, well, shoot, like
Yeah, like holier than thou people.
yeah,
That,
it's just like you kind of. I think it's more the love and the grace and the mercy that you have to give, like to show,
right.
and then just like I said earlier, like I prefer like building a relationship with somebody and then talking to them about God, because love goes a long way.
Yeah, it's true. And we're kind of doing this. I don't want to say backwards because this is our first like deep conversation together. So that's cool. And but if you don't mind like talking about it, or you don't have to, but just share what like what was it? Was the encounter more like a feeling? Was it just like something?
It was
like visual, or is it like audio or
no, it was
audible?
It was like a feeling, like a feeling, like it's just like if someone like embraced you with a hug.
Yeah.
Like in the moment where like you needed it, like that's how I felt. Like it was just,
Wow.
it was just like what, like to me, and then I was like, dang, like it's just so like pure. I felt like a pureness, even though I was in the deepest hole of my life at that moment. I was like, dude, like why did I feel this?
Yeah.
Like what caused me to stop thinking the way I was thinking at that moment to do what I want to do, take my life, and for that to happen at that exact moment. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like that was like wow, like a pure love that I was like, too. I couldn't like.
Yeah, it was just like something
you
knew.
It was a lot to take in.
I've had similar experiences, and maybe I didn't like chalk it up to God, but I just like it's like I knew that feeling before I knew me.
Yeah,
if that makes sense. And yeah, so but then that's happened like at various points in my life.
Yeah.
But it's also like I don't know what it was or things that I've done that didn't allow me to. Even now, like I still feel like, and not for nothing. I mean, this is like there was just something that just always kind of like always not question the idea of God, but more so like when you look at history and you look at, you know, how the people that holier than thou, like the conquistadors, the Spanish Inquisition, all these different times in history where people used religion to dominate or massacre like millions of people, you know, over time, you know.
I mean, they're still doing it to this day.
Yeah, yeah, and
it's rowdy. Like,
but yeah, and that's true. And it's just like with that comes with experience and like perspective and understanding and like I'm starting to come around and understand like as I just started reading the Bible again, but more so like before I read it like because I had to, you know what I mean? It was like my mom was very, and I'm not knocking my mom or anything. Like she felt what she felt and she believed what she believed. And if you're like a deeply religious person, like this isn't like a dig at anyone else, but it's just the reality of this conversation. And like I talk to people about this podcast, I talk about anything and everything and everything I want. And this is one of those things that just keeps me like naturally curious. And I've gone through different rabbit holes to try to understand like things bigger than myself, universe, just even all the way down to quantum mechanics and the quantum physics and all these different like things that make up what is like life and what is this and that. But one of those kind of lingering things that I've been kind of like cycling back and forth through the like there's different experiences of life is the idea of God, right? At one point in time I believe God was like a person in the clouds. That's changed for me. I feel like he's omnipresent, you know, like in anything and everything. And even before that, I couldn't understand like what God's in this like carpet that's man-made, you know, like, but I didn't understand like what that meant.
Yeah, it's like God would like he'll use me, he'll use you to speak to somebody. Like, that's how he just works like that. Like it's just
and then like I don't know, it's strange how that is. And I asked you earlier, like, are there times where people will share things with you and you don't understand why, you know. Same thing happens to me, and it's not for nothing. And it's just I kind of just let them talk, you know. I've heard some people in general they're just like, man, I don't want to hear your problems, you know, whatever. But for whatever reason, that's not me, you know what I mean. I don't think I want to say I've never thought that, but at most points in my life, like I and maybe that's kind of been like the double-edged sword, right?
Yeah.
I'm always like, not always, but most of the time I'm putting others first.
Yeah.
And therefore I'm kind of like I'm always going without.
Yeah.
I'm using too much energy for other people or what have you. But with that, it's also like never understanding and looking with inward and trying to understand where I fit in the bigger picture.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's just like there's just a lot of questions, and there are feelings that I've gotten. And one thing that have you ever like, this is gonna go kind of, I really don't give a rat's ass, but one thing that kind of happened to me, I don't know, like a couple of weeks ago, and it hasn't happened in a while. Used to happen quite a bit, and nothing really brought me comfort, right? Like, so there's a fear, right? There's a fear of man, and then there's a fear of like being in a dangerous situation. But then there's like a primal fear. Have you ever woken up like in the middle of the night and you just have this like fear, like something's with like in the bedroom that you're like, you don't know what it is, and it's not like a ghost or nothing, but like it's just this primal fear that the only thing you can do is like so there's a lot of different, paths that I've gone down to try to understand, protection and all these different things.
Yeah.
But the one thing that really like resonated with me that night was to pray.
Yeah.
Because and that brought me comfort over anything else. And that's kind of like stuck with me, right? Because I don't know what that is. Like, it's not to say that I don't know what was in the room. Maybe it was just I woke up from a bad dream. I used to have like a lot, and I have every once in a while, but most of the time I can remember them. Yeah. But with that, it's just like there has to be something to that, right? Yeah. Like why isn't it any other thing that I've tried to pull on those strings? Yeah. Like what came to me was just this idea of prayer. And with that, it's like, is that because it's something that I was part of my value system growing up? Like, would it still be the same if I was like you and I never knew what the idea of God was? You know what I mean? I don't know why I did that, but the idea of what God is, or like the protection, or like,
So like when you say that, whatever, I feel like that, like something in your spirit that was like instant, like this is what I have to do, like in the spirit. You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
it was something like that. And that's what I'm like.
So like when you're like in that fear and you just you choose, like your spirit tells like, oh, gotta pray.
Yeah.
And like there's power in prayer. You know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
It might just be like, oh, thank you God, or help me from like something simple. But when there's communication between you and God, there's like there's power. Like He knows already. Like, but it's like when you're like a deep sleep or sleeping and you feel that way. And the first thing that comes out your mouth is to pray something, whatever you pray that day. It's like it's like a practice. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like your spirit's already practicing already, like how to defeat something that's like in the spiritual side or in that moment of fear or whatever. I just feel like it's kind of like it's come natural. Like even though like there's a lot of things that like we feel like, say we go do a jump, whatever, and we have this gut feeling. We have those feelings for a reason. You know what I'm saying? We feel certain ways when we're around people. We feel like the vibe that's like, I shouldn't be here. Like, I need to leave. Like, I feel like God gives us those senses to like, hey, like, heads up. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Heads up or stay there. You know what I'm saying? Like, you choose. Like, it's just those things that like kind of I feel like God gives us these tools that we kind of take advantage of, but we don't really see it as like a protection. And it's like, dang, like I was like warned already for this or whatever. I already had a heads up for this.
Yeah.
But it's just like, I mean, a lot of people call it like the gut feeling, but it just, to me, it feels like I see it more as a spiritual, like there's a reason why you felt this way. There's something.
Almost like a spiritual sensor.
Yeah,
I guess.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, like spidey senses.
Yeah, the spidey senses. Yeah, and like I usually like, again, like maybe the more knowledge and stuff I try to attain to try to understand, the more convoluted it becomes. Like I've thought about that concept a lot. Like is it really that simple, right? Is it really that simple in the sense of like, and like in the sense of like in Genesis, right? It talks about like, Adam and Eve, and they were in the Garden of Eden. And if I'm jacking this up in any way, please let me know. But then there's a tree of knowledge, and then there's a tree of. There's two different trees, but like it's like this idea, right? Like, is it? Have you ever seen the movie Stargate? The first Stargate. So in the movie Stargate, it's probably a better analogy of it. The movie Stargate, they find this piece of alien technology, right? And they finally get it up and running, and it's a portal. They go to like a pseudo Earth, right? And it's like, or another dimension of Earth, and they come out of the pyramids, right? A pyramid. It looks like the pyramids of Giza. They find these people, and these people think that they're the gods of this pyramid, right? And fast forward, so they start interacting with them, and but all these people, it's very simple, right? Yeah. It's a very simple life. They farm, they agriculture, but it's very like it would have been back in biblical times, right? But one of the things that stuck out to me about that movie is like when because they're like part of the military, some are scientists, they try to communicate with them, and they try to write in the dirt, right? Yeah. And they like scuff it out, right? And at first, like, I'm thinking like, damn, that's messed up. They don't even want them to learn. Yeah. But at the very basis of like nature in general, like chimpanzees, anything in the wild, like everything's provided, right? Yeah. And if this is just one scenario I've kind of gone down, but like if everything is provided and everything you need is there, then what more do you need, right? But so going back to Genesis, the tree of knowledge, they're forbidden to take from the tree of knowledge. I mean, I question like why was it there in the first place if you didn't want them to have it? So, but you go back to free will. Yeah. But with that, it's also like they take from this tree of knowledge, and then they become like an idea is implanted, right? And that idea is curiosity, pretty much at the basis of it. And then that, what's this glass made out of? I don't know. Or how was it? And so that to finding out what the materials are, to how it's made, so forth and so on. And I think in Genesis it says, now they will know as much as God does, or they will know right from wrong, such as God, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing, but it's not to say that, but. I guess my point is like, is it really that simple, right? Yeah. Is it really that simple that if that holds true, then therefore they could have lived at peace with one another had they never even had the idea of curiosity in general.
So like with that, we had a Bible study and talking about that, right? And I was like, it's kind of crazy because like you said, like they were fine before that happened.
Right. I mean, according to the Bible,
everything was good, right? But it's like, since we have their free will, we have temptation, we have all these things. So at the same time, like, we have God, and at the same time we have an enemy. And then the Bible talks about how angels got casted down to earth. Yeah. So I feel like right now, in general, and on this earth, it's like a playground for the devil. All these diseases, all these things happening, it's like it's handed over to the enemy.
Yeah. My mom always used to say that, and at the time, I mean, not for nothing, like, I would just be like, man, it's like, she would cause arguments with my aunts because she would say that, like, well, like, she would say something like to set them up, kind of like, the prince of this earth is, or whatever, or something like that. And they would say, like, God, and like, no, it's the devil. And they're like, what? They get in arguments, but...
And that's just how I feel.
Yeah. But to go back to your point, that's kind of what it sounds like, because it does, from that standpoint, it does make sense that all these things would exist here, like. Yeah.
I mean, because you gotta think about like when all that happened, there was already people. There was already like people there already. You know what I'm saying? Like, because even though like that was Adam and Eve, who know? I mean, who like this is like assuming, you know what I'm saying? Right. If angels were casted down to earth, something already happened already. Right. Something was already going on. You know what I'm saying? There's something spiritually. There's fallen angels. Like that, and I feel like that's when like spiritual comes out, like with the whole demonic things, and and like the way like the devil works, the way like I mean you could say it the way you want to say it, but just spiritual wise, it's just like that's why everything's so corrupted right now, and it's been corrupted. You know what I'm saying? Because it's just like we have all these we're curious, we want to know.
Right.
We as humans we want to know how everything works, even with science. Like I'm not against science, I'm not against all this stuff. Whatever, it's good to know, but I feel like we're never gonna find out or know exactly how God works and how. We're never gonna get to that point. I mean, it could go on for years and years, and we're never.
I think like once we find out, like we'll do something to blow ourselves up or something. You know what I mean? Something crazy shit will happen.
It's just like how they say our mind only half of it works.
Right.
And it's like there's a reason why only half of our brain works. Like why?
Yeah.
Like, to me, it's like why only that? Like how come we can only get a piece of that?
Yeah.
Because if we knew more, then what? Like shoot, we'll be on a whole different level.
Yeah, and I've heard like two different things of that, where that like you only use like 10% of your brain or something like that. Like I've heard two like different thought processes. Like somebody who said that it was misquoted somewhere, but also there's the other side of it, right? I was watching something last night on I think they were physiologists or neurophysiologists, and they were talking about, and I've had these thoughts before, is we'll never like truly understand and perceive where we live is. We'll never have an accurate interpretation of what it really is. And when I say that is because, and it was validated last night, this thought process that I've had, because initially I was thinking about from perception, experiences, like every different person will have their own version of what this world is, or what even this room, right? They might come away with a different way. You've ever had a conversation with somebody and they're like, say something like, I don't know, have a good day. And then you'd be like, all right, have a good day. And the other person's like, do you hear how he told us? Yeah. And you're just like, what did you hear? You know what I mean? But it's just a different understanding. But with that, it's like just sight alone, right? Yeah. Where you can only see certain wavelengths of the light, right? We can't see an infrared. We can't see an X-ray. Yeah. All these different, but those do exist right now. Yeah. And with the same concept, right? Maybe touch, feel, hear, audio, like dogs can hear way better than we can. Yeah. And you can go down the spectrum of different like beings that are on this planet, and they all have different capabilities within their certain realm of survivability. Yeah. We could chalk that up to evolution. We could chalk that up to God, and for this conversation. But at the end of the day, I do feel like there are things in this world or this existence that we will never fully understand, because there are all these different spectrums of perception, or different spectrums of that we're limited by our own senses. Yeah. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, at the same time too, I think about like the ocean. Like we only go so far down.
Yeah.
Because we don't have that equipment. We haven't gotten that far.
Yeah.
And like, I like on the Bible it talks about like all these creatures and stuff, and I'm like, man, dude, like. I think about the creatures that could be underneath the sea that we don't even know about, that only could live down that far because that's what they're capable of living. They can't go up because they'll die. Yeah. But it's just like, I just like the Bible like talks about like some crazy stuff, and it's like it feels like to me it's like I see it as like a Harry Potter like visual, like all these creatures and stuff like that. And, and it's like, man, like if these things like the way they describe them, I'm like, that sounds pretty scary. Like if there's somewhere like down the ocean or cast it down, like it's just like
and I don't see why not. Like there's like in the different spectrums of like vision, like when people talk about like seeing ghosts and like spirits and stuff like that, or like people have the capabilities that the Bible talks about, like the gift of foresight and these different gifts that God gives people. But like to circle back to, so when you're talking about like was it like the Nephilim, where they came down and had, I don't know if it was a Nephilim, but they came down and took women as wives, like the women of, like, so it's, I don't know if the Bible says the son of gods or what it says specifically, but pretty much like angels came down and took on women as wives, and that those women had giants. Yeah. And then like fast forward, there's actually like evidence of that, like nowadays, like in Ohio and like in different parts of the United States, and I'm pretty sure around the world, there's mounds of giants, right? Yeah. So it's kind of like, what's up with that? You know what I mean? Like, how come that's not more mainstream? Because actually fill in some blanks, like of understanding for most people that question it.
Yeah, that too, and it's like, and you think about like everything, like how, like right now, this world right now, everyone's trying to prove a point. Everyone's trying to be right. Everyone's too sensitive. It's just so it's like really corrupted. But everything's fine. You could do whatever you want. But when it comes to God, like for some odd reason, it's like we're not having it. We're not having it.
Yeah.
But we could promote the devil over here. We could. I mean, like even with the whole gay and all that stuff, whatever.
Yeah.
Like I have nothing against it. Like everyone has to take account of their own actions
right.
and at your life, whatever. But I'm not gonna hate on it.
Right.
I'm not gonna hate on them or whatever. Like they choose what they want to choose, whatever. But it's like be you, and that's it. Like there's no reason to argue or fight or have this crazy debate on stuff like this. That's like everyone's just trying to prove a point. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
But they allow all this stuff in this world that's not okay, but okay for people, and yes and no, and you know what I'm saying, like there's no wrong. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a wrong when it comes to God for some reason. Like they can't promote it on TV, the music. They can't it's limited. Like God, it's like
everything's upside. It seems like everything's upside down now.
But for some reason, and to me, that blows my mind because it's like they could promote all this stuff, whatever, but why not God? What is it gonna hurt? Like why is there such a filter with God in this world where everything else is exposed for what it is? But like this to me, it's like what? Like
I've heard of that, like in from actors like in Hollywood that are like blackballed. I don't know if that's the right word. It's politically correct. Whatever. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, like if they are open about being a Christian or what have you, like then they don't get roles or they're like ridiculed, like within Hollywood. And there's actually a documentary that came out by a guy that he was a stuntman, and he said when he first kind of went into the industry and how he used to hear about like just wild shit happening or whatever, like behind closed doors or what have you, but like fast forward, I don't know, like 20 years or so, he's like I never believed in God, or like the devil or anything. But he's like, just through the course of like my own experience, that's like what I've seen and experienced has kind of shifted my mindset around that because of like the things that I've experienced like within Hollywood. Yeah. And he put like a little documentary together, and it's pretty interesting, at the very least entertaining. Yeah. I didn't like follow up like who he is or what like if he was truly a stuntman or whatever, but it seems pretty legit. I mean, as you know, with video, and that's one thing I'm learning now, is like you can have all these like generic videos and pictures, and then you can shape a story around that with music and all these things. And so I've been a little bit more, what's the word? Critical of some movies, because you can kind of see the agenda behind it and stuff like that now. I'm not saying I'm like the most experienced, but you can kind of get it now. When before I used to just watch it and take it as it was, you know what I mean? Like, oh my God, that's a true story, whatever. But yeah, and it is true. I was telling Sandy like a couple of years ago, I think like the new flex, is going to be like people claiming that they're Christian, and like in general. And I'm not even, when I say that, I'm not the most religious person. I have a bunch of questions that obviously I was getting kicked out of Bible study for. My mom would get mad at me, so I just stopped asking them. And then me having these morals and understandings of what my life to be and like what was going to take me to hell. 10 Commandments. We can talk about that. But that breaking a lot of them, if not every fucking one of them. You know what I mean? Like in various forms or whatever. Like with that, it's like, well, I'm definitely going to hell. So I kind of just went down, like, just kind of crazy, you know what I mean? Just doing whatever. And I'm pretty sure it's for a number of different reasons, traumas, different things in my life that kind of just led me down those paths. Circle back, it's just like, I've always had this natural curiosity, so much so that when I was younger, my mom was like, you're going to be a preacher one day. I was like, yeah, right. Like, I don't know if you know what I've been doing, you know what I mean? But it's interesting just that she had this understanding of that. But with that, it's also like going back to when we're talking about the ocean, the thing I thought about, and then even going back to the Bible when it talks about Enoch, right? When we're talking about like it, I think it's in Genesis. It talks about all these different people that they lived to 600 and something years old. And I think that's possible for a number of different reasons. Probably diet was different. Stress was a lot different. You know what I mean? It didn't have as many contaminants and all the crap that they put in food now.
Yeah.
But with that, it's also, I haven't dove into that. I'm not a freaking, anthropologist, so I couldn't really speak to that. But when it talks about Enoch, it talks about Noah, it talks about all these different people. And then it's like, and Enoch, like it never, and they said they all, like they lived until and begot so many children. Yeah. But when it talks about Enoch, it's like God took him. Yeah. And I was reading,
what happened to him?
Yeah, like what happened to him? Like, where did he go?
Yeah.
And so I read the book of, I've read the book of Enoch. And like, that's pretty wild too, because even like Ezekiel, when he talks about, like, it's when he's describing what he's reading. And then even like when it talks about like, Jesus and God coming back, right? It's talking about he's going to come from the heavens, right? And so there's this like parallel, right? That I just as a human, naturally, you try to draw these lines, right? To understand something. Whether they're accurate or not, I'm not sure. Yeah. I mean, only time will tell. But with that, it's like, I'm not saying that God is an alien. Yeah. And because we have these two different understandings, right? Like that, those things just don't mesh together. Yeah. Like it's like oil and water for like the way we understand Hollywood movies, like what aliens are. They're always coming to attack us, and all these things, right? But if you go all the way back to, history and tapestries and like Egyptians, and there's all these,
Science.
Like you can even go back to the Mayans, Aztecas,
drawings and stuff.
The Hopi, you know what I mean? Like there's always been some overseeing people or race or what have you that's kind of always kind of visited. Yeah. And I mean, it could be feasible. I'm not, but it's again, right? We draw this line. Oh, maybe it's just me that draws this line. It's like they can't be the same thing, but what if it is? Yeah. And I'm not saying that to say that to like question God or anything, but it's just like, why are these two like so separate and they kind of are telling the same thing in one way or another? Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense, because like I feel like, because like me, like I'm real open. Like I believe what I believe because of my encounters, and that was never gonna change. Right. But at the same time, it's like I don't believe we're like the only people on earth. If God could make me so detailed with our fingerprints, like I'm the only person with this fingerprint. Right. And like even with twins, like the identical twins that don't even have the same fingerprints. Right. Saying, like, if God could do that, I don't doubt there's other life somewhere else. Right. I'm saying like this whole world is like everything. Like there's no, I cannot admit that that's not there. Right. It's just something that it could be there, but I just haven't experienced that. I haven't seen it. But it's like I'm not gonna limit it God either. Right. I'm saying because God is God and He's the creation of all of us. It's like. To me, like, I think about like creation in general by itself, like, it's mind blowing. Like, it's just because I had my encounters with God, whatever. But then when I had my daughter, that was like another, like, my daughter's, like, the day that we found out that we're having a kid, and then to the now right now, it's like the process of the growth and the detail of the work, like, that to me that shows me how real God is. You know what I'm saying? And then when I had like that pure love, that encounter at that moment, I think about my daughter now. I'm like, man, like I want to show that same love, that same grace that God gave me, that showed me. I want to give it to my daughter, because sometimes I'll get frustrated, or sometimes I'm not having it today. You know what I'm saying? And as humans, we're like, it's just like I want to show her that pure love, like that unconditional love, where like no matter what it is, like I love you. You know what I'm saying? And but as sometimes it's hard, because sometimes like she doesn't listen, or I get mad at her. I have to discipline her, and it's like, man, like I question myself, like, am I doing it right, God? Like show me how to be a father, like, because my father figure, like, wasn't really there, but there. You know what I'm saying? It was like he was there, like how do you say it?
He was there, but he wasn't present.
Yeah, like yeah. So like he was present, but really wasn't like. I was saying he was there.
Yeah, I got you. Yeah.
But so I was like, man, like, am I doing it right? And especially if she's a girl. So I'm like, man, like, I want to show her love, like,
right.
And but so like since, and then I guess like keeping up like when my girl was pregnant, well now she's pregnant again, got another baby coming.
Congrats.
Thank you. Just the process of the growth, like.
Was that supposed to be out by the way? You want me to cut that out?
No, you're good.
Okay.
But so, I guess like when it happens, and then from there, the 9 months, whatever, like all that's like mind blowing. Like it's so like,
yeah,
like so like last week, we heard the heartbeat, and it was like the baby was this small with the heartbeat, and to me that's wild. Like,
yeah,
for life to be living at that moment as for a heart, you know what I'm saying, to be like,
yeah.
And so when I think about that, and I think about creation, I think about, and then I see my grandma now. She's old, so like I see, my mind goes like on a whole different like level with like life. But then I think about the heart, the centerpiece of the heart, like that's what life is. You know what I'm saying? But then as we get older, our heart gets harder because of trauma, because of hurt, because of unforgiveness, because of all this stuff. Whatever,
right.
We become bitter, we get jealous, we get all this stuff. And then we're at a point in life where like, why am I like this now? Like, but
right.
it's just all out through the years, our hearts get hardened. And it's like, man, like with my daughter, I get mad at her, go to your room. And then she comes back. Like, if nothing happened.
Right.
Like, she forgot about it like that. But as humans, as we get older, we tend to hold grudges. Well, you told me this, remember the other day? And then it is a grudge.
Right.
And it's like, man, like if we had that same like outlook in life of like forgiveness at that moment, like that as a kid, like it's to me it's like we become like these ugly people,
yeah,
out through the years, and it's we get like we become something that we're not supposed to be, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
But we just do it because over the years.
Yeah, and through my experience, I've kind of learned that whether, like, we're put in these positions, right,
Yeah.
of, traumas or trials and tribulations, or however you want to reference them to, and we're given the opportunity, right, and it's easier said than done. But, like, if a tragic situation happens, there's obviously the tragedy involved, right, and the hurt and the loss and everything that goes with that, on whatever level that is. But also, there's a lot of good that comes out of it. In most situations, I would feel I think in every situation there's good and bad. Whether it's equal, there is, but it depends what we choose to focus on, right?
Yeah.
And with that, like that good that happens within those moments, again, easier said than done. And you have to have the tools and the awareness and the wherewithal and understanding. There's a lot of different things that factor into this recipe, and it comes with practice. Yeah. Is to try to hold on to that good and because that will bring you out of that darkness, right? And the more and more you practice that, it'll get a little easier. It won't always be like I'm not saying.
It's like working out,
it's like working out, but it's just exactly. You're working a different muscle, if you will, like a spiritual muscle or a mental muscle. Yeah. But because if we always focus on the negative, then we'll always gravitate towards the negative, and vice versa. And I'm not saying to be completely like oblivious to the fact that you're hurting or anything like that, and not take time and place and make room for that. Yeah. Because if you don't deal with that, then it will just consume you. If you choose to just throw it in the closet, it will fucking bust its way out. It's gonna come out.
Chicken bomb or something.
Exactly.
And that's how I used to be. Dude. I used to be so like I wouldn't give people time to talk. Like if it irritated me, like I'll throw the first punch.
Yeah.
And that's it. Like I wouldn't I tell my girl about this, and I'm like, she's like, I don't see you that way. I'm like, because I was like, I know, like how I used to be, and so like with I guess like the process of growing too, it's like at first I didn't recognize these things, these patterns, and now I recognize them. So like when I get irritated or when I get pissed or when I think I'm gonna do something wrong, like it's like I put myself in check where I know like it's like the devil pulls these. I mean, sometimes it's not even the devil all the time. Sometimes we just screw things up as humans.
Right.
We tend like, oh, like we just do it. You know, like we do it to ourselves sometimes. But it's like I recognize these things that before they escalate, and so I could de-escalate.
Yeah.
the
No.
problem
Yeah.
because it's like I'm aware of it now. At first, I would just go all out. And
Yeah.
that's it. And then, but just the fact of being aware and knowing like what causes these things to flare, like I avoid these things, and it's just one of those things where like, man, like I don't know, just the process, and like that's the same thing. It's like it's the same thing. Like that's like it's just a process of growing,
Right.
Knowing like what to do and what not to do, how you used to be, and who you are now. Like
Right.
there's the past you.
Yeah, but that's all a choice too.
Yeah.
That's like because there's a lot of people that I know that, or just people in general that have not changed.
Yeah.
You know, they continue to cling on to the way they were, and that's for a number of different reasons. But one of the big reasons is because it's hard.
Yeah,
it's hard to keep yourself in check.
Oh yeah.
Your ego comes involved, and then your value system, depending on where you grew up. Like I grew up like right by Sedalvo and Jenna McMullen. So like the way that, yeah, man. So like it was all about respect. You know what I mean? So even if you wanted to let something go, you couldn't let it go.
Yeah.
And then that just every time you did it, and then there was the people for whatever reason that you wanted to be accepted by, they would, kind of, cheer you on, afterwards, like, yeah, you fucking told them or whatever.
Yeah.
But with that, that kind of hardens that idea and that mindset.
Yeah.
And you just continue down that path. And if you never leave that environment, or you just never start making those choices or get around the right people that be like, hey, man, that's not right. That was messed up what you did or whatever. Keep you in check. Yeah. Then you're going to continue down that path. Having said that, like, so yeah. But I guess my point is like to be aware enough and do the work to try to remove yourself from that thought process and create like a different groove, right?
Oh, yeah.
And with that comes, like a more of a balanced approach in life, and you're not always seeking conflict, because that's how I used to be too. Yeah. Like somebody looking me the wrong way or whatever. It's dumb. Like it's embarrassing to say now, thinking about it.
It sounds childish, but it is what it is.
Yeah, I know. And that's the way it was. I mean, that's probably why I got this resting bitch face, Like, that's why I tell people, like, I just always look like this, and it's not for nothing, but it's just your environment kind of shapes that, but yeah, so it's just being aware of that, making those changes, and like it's also like me hitting a wall, right? Me understanding like that I was trying to attack this life and approach this life with a little bit of tools that I learned, from learning from others or what have you, but I still used the same negative coping mechanisms to deal with them. Yeah. So like drinking, and like drinking and then like mixing like pharmaceutical. It wasn't like, because you get hurt in the military, they give you, I don't know, like Percocet or whatever, and it's not really talked about, but people do it. You know what I mean? Like people do it every day, right? Yeah. They mix it with like, oh yeah, you're gonna get more fucked up, or it's gonna be on the couch watch TV or whatever, and that's kind of like touted, right? Alcohol, the same thing. Yeah. And then those value systems I grew up with, like most of my family and the people that influenced me, the only time they really expressed love in any kind of way is when they were drinking. Yeah. And then fast forward, like military, that was kind of, and I'm not like, it's just the environment, what it was. Yeah. I'm not saying I never had any good times drinking, because I did. Yeah. There's a number of good things I could say about it that I've kind of like understood people better because they were able to kind of,
some are more open then.
Yes, more open, you know what I mean? You're like, oh, okay, I got you. And there's that bonding that happens, but there's also too much of anything is a bad thing. Oh, yeah. A book I always reference was like the difference between a medicine and a poison is the dosage. Yeah. So with that, I hit a wall. I tried to deal with the way I could, and I still like half-assed it, and it just bit me in the ass. Yeah. That led to like an attempt. Yeah. And that kind of led me where I'm here now. But at the same time, it's like, it's also appreciating and starting to really appreciate more so now, like the shadow of like you have to like appreciate your own shadow, meaning like everyone is capable of good and evil, but understanding and appreciating that other side and being, it's easier said than done, but being forgiving to that side of yourself, as opposed to pushing it in a closet, like, hey, just stay in there. I'm not like that. I'm not like that, because it will come out. You know what I mean?
There's times that like even when it talks about, like, the Bible talks about, like, forgiveness, whatever, and a lot of people don't understand that forgiveness is for you. I'm saying it's not like, oh, this person did me wrong, stuff, I gotta go ask for forgiveness. Like, you don't have to go to the person and ask for forgiveness. I'm saying, because I could be pissed off at this other person that lives somewhere else, but I'm so pissed off right now still. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And why am I so still pissed off, and this person's way over there? Like, it's because I'm the one that don't have I don't forgive.
Yeah, and I can understand that. That's what I deal with, well, for many different reasons. There's a lot of bad shit I did in my past. You know what I mean? And us being the way, like, or me being the way I grew up was like taking accountability for your actions, right? And it's also like, but that can be too much, right? Because you don't believe that there could be forgiveness external from yourself. Well, you can't. You feel that forgiveness should be external from yourself, is what I should say. In other words, it's like you can't give yourself forgiveness for whatever reason. I'm not saying I agree with that now, but that's why you would always, not you specifically, but people seek forgiveness from other people. Yeah. But also, by trying to do that, they could be locking themselves, giving the key away to somebody else that can hold on to it and be like, I'm not going to forgive you for shit, whatever, and hold you there, and you're like giving them that power over you. Yeah. Which, I mean, some people do. Yeah. You know what I mean? They never let you out of their... And ironically, they become imprisoned in themselves with that very notion because they're stuck in that mindset of, like, that perspective of understanding that this is the way it is and I'm never going to consider anything else. And then they just kind of let that deteriorate them from within. And then, like, even that, like, I feel like those are, like, tools. Those are, like, simple tools that we do all the time that the enemy throws at us. So we could stay in that bondage of, like, being bitter, being angry, being, like, just whatever that comes along, how you take it in. And it's like, then it's like the devil got to you, right, where he wants you. So you ain't gonna move now. Yeah, it's like you're stuck right here until there's a point in life where, like, dang, like, is this even worth it? Like, is all this unforgiveness worth it? Like, should I just let it go and leave it in God's hands and move forward so I could be happy, so I could be free? And that's the one thing, even like with, like, all the stuff with my dad and just, like, past hurts, whatever. It's like, man, like, I was carrying all that stuff in, and those are things that would flare up my anger when something did happen. Mm-hmm. Anything would happen, all that would just come out, like, and so. And you feel justified, right? Like whenever you would act in those ways, you kind of just feel like. Well, maybe I'm just projecting on you, but that's how I would feel. Is like you guys don't understand, like, I mean, going through this. Yeah, like everyone. I mean, anybody could say, "Well, you're not in my shoes. You know how I feel." Yeah. I mean, in general, yes. I mean, I could say I know how you feel, but there's a difference of saying I know how you feel, but the way you embrace it, we might embrace things different. You know what I'm saying? Right. We might go through the same path with childhood, whatever, but you embraced it a different way. You let it go quicker than I did. You know what I'm saying? Right. But that's just the path of you know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it's like just everyone functions different, so we can't say, oh, you don't know what I've been through, you don't know what I've done, you know how I feel. Yeah. Like, I don't know how you feel. Yeah. But I know how I don't know how you feel, but I know how, like, I can relate to an extent. I can relate to it, but I don't know how you truly feel about it because we're different. And I think that's one of the things that's going on in society now, whether they're virtue signaling or what have you, but they even, like, when something's, like, wrongly done to them, they want people to suffer to the level of extent how they were offended or they feel, and then that goes per person. You know what I mean? Yeah. So nobody's ever let out like, just take Kevin Hart, right? He made some comments about his son being gay, like, I don't know, like 10, 15 years ago. Fast forward, they bring it out again, and he has to apologize again. But that's that thing, right? It's like, how many times you have to say you're sorry, and how can anybody that's done someone wrong ever truly appreciate or suffer? Like, how much should they suffer based off of the way you feel? Like, people expect other people unknowingly to feel exactly how they're offended and how they feel because of what happened to them. But in reality, even if you were to tell me your story, like you're telling me a story about your dad, and I can understand to a certain extent, I can reflect on my own life, and I can think about, like, you know, similar things that happened to me as a child, like my parents fighting, like crazy shit, dude. Like I joke all the time I should write a book about it because it seems unbelievable. Even when I tell people, there's like, what, you know. But with that, it's also like, I do not have the personal feelings that you felt within those moments, and those kind of shape you who you are now. So anything that happens in reflection of that, it kind of brings up all those feelings. So for me to say I truly understand what you, it's impossible. Unless I would have, like, connect, you know, maybe Neuralink. You know, that's a whole nother subject. But yeah, it's pretty wild, man. Like how, I don't know, like the where we're at nowadays as far as society, and I'm not saying we're going to fix it here in this podcast, but it's definitely it's fascinating and scary at the same time. Just like the level of it's. Do you know what CERN is? CERN. It's central. I'm going to jack this up. This is where I would need somebody to look this up for me. I'm going to try to look it up right now, but I'm going to try to talk and look it up. So CERN is it's an agency, or it's the countries of France, Switzerland, and Germany that are looking for the God particle, right? And they built this Hadron Collider. And I've been tracking this for a while. And there's also a book I read from Dan Brown. It's called Origin, or it's one of his books in this series. But CERN is I'm looking for the acronym right now. What CERN acronym is. But it's a Large Hadron Collider. And what they do is they send two protons, or... I'm jacking this up, so if there's any physicists on here, I mean, if you want to correct me, you can come on the podcast and try to help me understand this. I know what I'm talking about. I just forget. My recall is not the greatest. But they pretty much send two particles down this this machine that spans over, I forgot how many miles. And long story short, they collide together. And what it's doing is recreating a Big Bang, right? Like, which people believe that our universe is created. But these fuckers do these like every day, or not every day, but like a lot. So going back to like quantum mechanics, right? Like, and I'm probably gonna jack this up too. So if you want to come on my podcast and educate me and my viewers, then please, by all means. But it's like this table, right? It's like we look at it as the physical aspect of it, right? And quantum mechanics is like the atoms within it, right, that make up the table. It's not a square table. It's probably like a round atom. So with that is like when we think of the universe, right, our universe, it's like, it's huge, right? But relative to like this atom, right, there could be particles and things within it. Probably not with an atom, but in their universe, it's a big universe because that's all they know. But with that, it's like, if we're creating, like, when I say we, like humans are creating these big bangs like every day, then you're constantly affecting like it's the quantum physics, I believe. So it's like the layers on top of layers that we're talking about are what we can perceive, what we can actually visually see or like feel or hear, but it's affecting these like I'm trying to help. These like membranes, these dimensions, I guess, and it's colliding them against. So I've been trying to explain this whole time, and I probably like confuse people more than anything. But I think it plays into a lot of the crazy shit that's happening. Is what I'm trying to say.
Oh, yeah. It's just like they're trying to figure out how everything's.
Yeah.
I mean, that's all. That's all we're trying to do is trying to figure out like how we became where we're at right now.
Yeah.
Like I guess trying to figure out who God is.
Yeah, that's pretty much. And
by then trying to play God is like, I mean, all you're gonna do is corrupt things, and I mean.
There's a book, I think it was the same book, but it said in this book, like, one thing that I took away from it, it says religion and science are two languages trying to solve the same thing, or trying to understand the same thing, pretty much. It's like they're working in these two different, or I don't know about religion, but like trying to prove these two different theories, right? Yeah. But they're like they're gonna find themselves in the middle.
Yeah, somebody will circle.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying, and that's how I see it. Like, whether that's true or not, I'm not sure. But it's just like that's what it seems like. It's with anything. Like, even if you try to do good and you continually do good like all the time, you're eventually gonna find evil. Yeah. You know what I mean? You're like, if you're blinded by the idea of like the self-righteousness, the self like holier than thou, then like you think you're doing good, but it's actually you start becoming what you don't want to be, right? And on the other side, I mean, I don't know about if it works the same for evil, but maybe it works the other way too. You find like the good, and whether you choose to, but it's like the yin and yang. It's dark energy and I guess white energy or whatever. But either way, it's like it's fascinating to me because as I'm trying to understand it, I find myself doing the same thing. Yeah. You know what I mean? I feel like I'm going in a circle.
Yeah. And to me, it's like how I said, like how this world right now, the way it is right now, everyone's trying to prove something, and everyone's trying to do the right thing. But it's like at the same time, it's like it's gonna come around, like it's gonna be too much. And it's like, dude, like if we just focus on life, like the now, and just living life and appreciate us humans, like. Not try to figure out who God is or how He made us or how everything came about. Like, because that's not. I mean, we're never gonna get there. So all this is gonna bring chaos. It's gonna bring chaos, and it's gonna bring corruption, and it's just we're gonna put all of us ourselves in the hole.
Yeah. Like, and that's one thing I've been trying to focus on more lately, and it's like through different forms. Like again, going down these different paths. It's like exploring like Buddhism, and a lot of people think it's a religion. Yeah. It's not. Taoism, it's not a religion.
It's all like lifestyle. It's like that's what.
Yeah, it's exactly it, and it's like, but it's the same thing, right? It's
so like even with that, like so like when I talk about religion, like how I say it, like religion's so corrupted because it's man-made, and I feel like when it comes to God, like there has to be an encounter that happens to know like how God really works. And because that's when it's like we go, I'm gonna go get a new laptop today. You go out of your way to go get it. You research what you want. Same thing with God. Like He wants you to look for Him. He wants you to try and put some work into it. You know what I'm saying? It's like me, like having a daughter. Like you tell her, like you want the best for her, but you can't force her to do it because as she gets older, she doesn't do what she wants. She's to be who she wants to be. But it's like all we could do, like. As like a different kind of love, you know what I'm saying? You can't love and push away and disown that kid. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. It's just like, and that's how God is. He's not gonna force you to believe in Him. You know what I'm saying? It's just like it's gonna take its course, and then so like with everything, that's how everything's like so corrupted, and everyone's trying to the religion and all stuff, whatever. I always saw it as like religion. There's a lot of stuff that you could benefit from different religions to be on a different level, but a lot of religion is not so always good because I feel like you could open doors through different religions and different gods and idols and it comes to a point where like you might not know that you opened this door, but you're already in that door and you're already exposed to a lot of things it just brings question on top of questions over questions because it's like I guess like if I read the Bible, whatever, I can know the Bible, but sometimes it's not really. Someone could have like the knowledge of the Bible, like if they could know it like from the front to the back, but and there's no power behind it. No, like, I mean, all you do is know. You know,
Right.
there's no experience. There's just knowing a lot of information that is useful because it's just you haven't experienced it. You know,
Right.
it's just like, I guess you could open your mind to a lot of things, but that's all you're gonna have is that knowledge.
Right.
And then, but then you're gonna have experience in life that could switch like that and like question everything that you read or everything that you've seen.
Mm-hmm.
It's just something that kind of like I feel like I'm glad that I didn't pick up the Bible
Beforehand.
I'm saying 'cause I'm glad that I did it this way because like it's a different
Right.
it's a more of a relationship
Got you.
than
It's more profound.
more profound than knowledge
Right.
on my behalf.
Yeah.
So I think that's two different things that I feel like knowing and experiencing like life and
Yeah.
knowing about life, I guess. I don't know how to say it.
No, yeah, and I know what you're saying, and there's a few things that I kind of like. So there's like different levels of love, right? I've been thinking about this. Obviously, like I got kids too, and I think about like a lot of the things I've questioned, and I always go back and forth, like about certain things I've said or decisions I've made, or but it's also like different approaches, trying different things, both deep conversation, both like reality checks, both life lessons, letting them learn on their own, taking a step back, letting them know I love them. You know what I mean? It's like trying all these different approaches. Granted, every relationship is complicated, and this is no different. And every relationship has its own, variables. But with that, it's still like always trying to do right by them, even though they may not understand it. And I'm not trying to say that I'm God or nothing, but it's still the father relationship, right?
That's that same what we go through.
Right. And it's nothing will ever change the fact, like, I'll love them like always, right? And I'm always here for them. But at the same time, it's also like, it's kind of crazy. It's kind of circling back, like, but I've always told them, like, I'm here for you, but I'm not going to make you be here if you don't want to be here. But I'm here. I'll always be here, whatever, either now or in death. I'll be in spirit. I'll be around. But with that, it's also like just kind of leaving that door open for them. You know what I mean? And try to, because I've always tried to tell them like that I'm trying to give you the shortcuts to life, right? Yeah. And even though I can give you like this, hey man, this situation, do this exactly, right? They have no life experience to go with that, so they're gonna be like, you don't know what you're talking about, Dad. You know what I mean? I'm gonna do it my way because you're different, and I'm whatever. Because I used to think that way, but I'm like, no, here's the shortcut, like, and maybe that's what the Bible is, right? Like, hey, here's a shortcut, right? I'm trying to get. I'm like, nah, I'm good. I know what I'm doing. But with that, it's just like, but I don't know. Like when I would go to church and stuff, and I would see people like, with their hands up in the air and stuff. Like I never felt that. Like, and I felt like a liar for being there, right? I just felt like I was forcing it, and at some level, like I was a bit envious, I'm like, I want to believe in something the way they do. I would always tell my mom, like, because my mom would always use this line in the Bible. She said, if you have the faith of a mustard seed, you can move mountains, or something like that. I'm paraphrasing. But I was like, shit, I don't even think I got mustard seed, but that was just the reality of it. And, but yeah, it's just like trying to understand it for myself. And it's more so because if I believe in something, I want to truly believe in it. You know what I mean? Maybe we can argue that's what faith is. That's what just believing in general is. But for some reason, like, I don't know, I was just, and then every individual has their own path, right? Whether it's God or whichever direction they decide to go with their life or choose to go with their life. And mine is, maybe this is my path, trying to understand it for myself so I can, when I believe, and whatever it is that comes to. Does that make sense?
Like, to me, it's like everything comes to a point where it's like God's timing. And that could be now, that could be later in the line. And even with like, so when like being like coming from the outside, inside the church, and then seeing like the church from the outside, like seeing that, I'm like, I see, it's like I see everything since I came from this side, and I could see the church now, like how people would not want to go to church,
right?
But it's like I feel like that everyone has like a title, and everyone tries to live up to that title.
Right.
And it's like, well, yes, you're human. Yes, you have defaults in life, but I'm a pastor, or I'm a worship senior, or I'm a worship blah 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 this and this.
Right.
So all these titles, whatever, but then they don't. It's like they're so worried about their title that they don't want to get healed, or
because of their ego.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's like, oh, they're gonna find out that I'm doing this wrong, whatever. And I always tell people, like, man, like, I don't claim to like know it all on the Bible. I don't claim to be religious. I am who I am, and if people catch me slipping, correct me or say something to me, like if I'm getting out of hand for some reason or whatever the case is, whatever, like I want you to tell me something. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because I am not perfect. I don't want to put a front where like I act a certain way when I'm with these type of friends, and I'm over here. Like I'm saying, to me, that's too much work to pretend to be like a people pleaser around the people that you're church friends or BMX friends.
Yeah.
I'm saying, like, I prefer being me, and then they don't like me, then who cares? Like,
right.
It's me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And if the church people don't like the way I talk or the way I approach them or whatever the case is or the way I dress or look, then I mean, who are they to say anything? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm me. This is how I came when I met God. Like, I'm not gonna change my appearance or the way I am just because of like your making me feel guilty. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
I feel like when things change in your life, it comes from God. That conviction comes straight to like your heart, and you know, like, hey, I shouldn't be doing this no more. Like,
right.
Enough's enough. But if you have people telling you all this stuff all the time and telling you, and it's like, man, like, I mean, you can tell me all you want,
right?
But it's like, to me, it's like, I prefer doing it for God than doing it for people, because you're never going to be good enough for somebody.
Yeah.
There's always going to be something. You're not good at this. You're not good at that. Look at the way you act. Look at the way you talk. The way you dress or something. There could be a lot of things that people are not happy about. But
shit, I know.
Those things right there will tear people apart like crazy, because everyone's trying to please somebody.
Yeah,
constantly.
Because they want to be part of a tribe or want to be accepted.
And I'm like, bro, to me, that's a lot of work. It's too much work. Like, if you just focus, like how I said, like how the world's so corrupted, everyone's trying to prove something, and it's like it's never gonna be good enough for anybody. So the whole protesting and fighting, violence, and all that stuff, it's like, you're doing it for what? So you could tell people that you're right.
Yeah.
Like, if you think you're right, you're right. If you're wrong, you're wrong. You're saying my wrong's my wrong, and your wrong is your wrong. Like, we had different sins or different things that we struggle with. You know what I'm saying? I could be like, no, I can't. I could drink this, but you can't. You know what I'm saying? Because God corrected you on that. You know what I'm saying? But it's this thing where, like, it's every conviction is different to a certain person.
Right.
It's like, cause like I always tell people are like, well, the Bible talks about drinking. Like, you could drink, right? And there's some Christians like, you can't drink.
Right.
That's a sin, whatever. But me, I see it as a point where, like, if I have homies that are like alcoholics, I'm gonna, as a homie, I'm gonna tell you, hey, bro, stop. Like, it's enough. Like,
yeah, but that's just like, it's not. I mean, it could be God, but it also, like, being a good friend.
Yeah, and then so, like, with that, but then it's like, if I was alcoholic and I stopped drinking, I can't tell somebody that drinks like once a year or whatever, like, hey, bro, you can't be drinking. It's not of God.
Right.
But it's like, well, why am I telling my conviction that God's given me to everybody? Because he might not be an alcoholic. I might just caught him one day just drinking one beer or one
just
margarita.
having a bad day or whatever.
Like,
yeah.
It's just like, but you're gonna condemn them already just because of the first appearance. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, a lot of people do that just because.
That's why I said earlier that love comes a long way. When you have that love for somebody, then there's that opportunity to minister to them, and then them allowing themselves to be open to you without forcing anything out of them. It just comes natural. And like how you said, like how people come to you and tell you the pounds. Like, I feel like that's like a gift from God. I feel that as like God's giving you an opportunity to minister to people that the way you felt at one point. Because I know you talk about like mental health and stuff.
Yeah.
And I like that stuff because everyone goes through mental health. Everybody knows. It doesn't have to do with. I mean, it could be because of the military. It could be because of hurt, whatever.
Yeah,
It could be a lot of things that we go through, like a mental breakdown or whatever, or mental thoughts, whatever. But it's like those things that you're aware of could help someone out that's in that situation right now.
Right.
And I feel like if God allows somebody to go into your life like that with open heart, then God's gonna use you to minister to them in that point of life, so that you could move in their life and be that, like, I guess, like an example and that guidance, whatever.
Right.
All we're here to do is plant that seed and move on. We're not here to fix it,
right?
Because we're not God. But as long as we plant that seed, as they go, like someone else was, like, God will use someone else to talk to them down the line, and you might not see them like get out of that hole, but all you could do is hope and pray that they find a way out. And that's how I see things. Because like at first I was like, man, I always thought it was weird, like people would come to me like open hearted.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, like, and I was like, I always pray like, God, like you give me the words to speak, and whatever you need me to say, like use me as a vessel, so they could hear what they need to hear, what they could. Because there'd be like strangers that would come to me that I need to hear something that I didn't even know them at all, but they'll give me a word that I needed at that moment, because I was like down in the hole.
Right.
And so like this, like those encounters that I had with random people that I didn't know and they didn't know anything about my life, they'll give me confirmation. It's like, man, like, God, I want to use me. I want you to use me that way where I can help somebody out down the line, because it didn't happen right away, but I remember years ago that guy talked to me about this.
Right.
And then just kind of...
Yeah. And those are good points, because I've had that happen in both ways, where somebody has said something that I was just talking about earlier.
Yeah.
I'll be honest, I didn't always chalk it up to God, you know. But I mean, why not, right? But on top of that, it's also like the still kind of searching for my own understanding, and it's not that I'm being like stubborn, or maybe I am. I don't fucking know. But it's just my own way of understanding to move forward. I kind of feel like I've been on this. You know what an oscilloscope is? Like oscilloscope, like fiber, right? When you test fiber, they have the oscilloscope, right? OTDR. But there's these sine waves, right? And sometimes they're in sync and sometimes they're not. I kind of, to this point, this bigger understanding of like something bigger than myself, God, or when you plug in, fill in the blank. Because I do feel like there are a lot of people that I don't want to say undersell God. I think the Bible doesn't like give, to my idea of what, just looking at this universe, this planet, this everything, doesn't give God or the Creator enough credit. It undersells him almost, but I guess it just does what it's supposed to, right? But with that, I kind of feel like I've been on these like different wavelengths, right? You know, at one point in time, I guess it was kind of almost there, but then life happened and it's just like, you know, it's just like but like lately it's kind of been like more almost syncing up just through conversations such as this. And just kind of my own reading, my different understandings of even like exploring, like it's just like trying to connect the dots based off of all the life experiences I've had, kind of just throw them up on the wall, and you can start mapping out and charting out like what is what. And at the end of the day, I've realized that, you know, we're all the same, like not like we all come from the same, we're all the same being, right? And we're like it's all connected. You know what I mean? And nature's always changing. We're nature, and but it seems like a lot of these answers that I'm finding are kind of like leading back to the same place in one way or another. Some I just haven't pulled the string in a while, but it just seems like I'm kind of finding these different doors to try to kind of lead to the same place. So much so, I'm appreciating the quote from Albert. I think it was Albert Einstein. He said, "The more we learn, the less we know." Because that's true. Like the more I learn, like,
and that's how I said too. Like the knowledge too.
Yeah,
like, it's good to know.
It's endless.
But it's like I feel like it's gonna come back to a point where like, dang, like I was here the whole time.
Right? Yeah. I mean, I think about, and it's probably not the same thing, but it's kind of going back to my history. Is one time I got really drunk, right? It was when I first joined the military. And I almost got arrested at a bar for being underage, right? they put me in a cab. I go back to my dorms. Luckily, my friends. I mean, like, I don't know. Maybe God helped them out of that situation because I could have been in a lot of trouble. There's a lot of times where there's things that happen in my life. I either should have been dead or in a lot of trouble. But somehow, some way, I got out of it. Maybe I had a horseshoe up my butt or something. I'm not really sure. But they put me in a cab. Got back on base. I woke up in a room, right? And for whatever reason, I didn't feel like it was my room. Maybe because I was on the floor. Yeah. I got up. I went walking around the dorms that we were staying in for like, I don't know, it seemed like forever. Yeah. And then I finally found my room. I went to sleep. Turns out that I was in my room the whole time. So my point is, I didn't think I was there, but I was really always there. Yeah. So maybe it's the same thing. And speaking of rooms, going down different rooms, it makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, man. With that, man. Where can people find you? Like your Instagram.
So my Instagram's The Life of John Castillo.
The Life of John Castillo.
Yeah. And then like from there you can kind of have like links to my media page, and I have like a clothing brand I kind of started like years ago called Remnant. Okay. And that was kind of like a faith-based like clothing brand. Mm-hmm. When I first started. And then everyone's like, "Oh, that's a cool ministry," and I was like, "It's not a ministry; it's just to shirt." Like,
yeah, I mean, but it's like kind of both.
Yeah, but at that time I didn't think about it. I just thought about like pretty much like making a shirt that kind of represents like God and like where I'm at in life. Gotcha. And so I made this one, and it says "Too deep to go back." Yeah. So like all the stuff I went through, like it's like I'm too far in to. Go back to what I used to be. And then so as that was growing, whatever, just people were like, "Oh, it's a cool ministry," and then I was like, "No, it's not a ministry. Like it is what it is." And then I guess I started seeing it from their point of view and stuff like that, and it kind of been like it's always been like on the down low because I didn't have like BMX friends that had like the same visions I did. Right. And then remnants like in the Bible it's like the remaining of believers, right? And then like in the dictionary it's like the leftover trash. Interesting. That's the meaning. And so for me, like I feel like when I was like riding my bike and I didn't see like no one really has like the same like I guess thought process because of what I went through. Mm-hmm. I was like, man, like, I'm kind of solo. Like I'm like the only one that rides bikes that believe in God, that I actually acknowledge Him for my life, for like every heartbeat, every breath I wake up for. I felt like I was alone. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, yeah. And so that's what kind of stuck with me, that name. And then just kind of like that. I just left it like that. Yeah. And I just started like making little videos and then do little events. Whatever people would come ask me, hey, can you come bring the ramps and stuff? And I'll do like events for them. And yeah. And it ended up being something that like small. And then right before the pandemic hit, I had like a youth event, and I was always against doing stuff with the church. Not against it, but like I was like, well, if people already go to church and they're trying to figure out God, then why even go? Like I'm here to like go on the outskirts, mm-hmm. and just be who I am, use my talent to like glorify God and like and inspire other people like to do what they like, use their talent. You know what I'm saying? Right. I was like, why would I go to a youth event? Like why? I mean, I have no reason to go, whatever. And so, anyways, I ended up doing one, and they're like, oh, can you do some tricks on the ramps? So I brought my ramps, did a trick for like 30 minutes. Then they called me to this like the altar or whatever. I told them like piece of my testimony and stuff like that, and I was like, I'm just here to like. I mean, just whatever gift or talent that you got, like use it to glorify God and help people out. Like love on people and just allow God to use you. That's it. Like I don't have nothing, no scripture to back it up or anything. I just have my life and my experience to give you, and that's it. Yeah. And then so that was pretty cool. Like that was my first experience, like talking in front of like a group, and after that the COVID hit, and then that was the last one I did. But it was pretty cool, like to see like the younger generation, because like it's like I think about the younger generation, I think about my daughter, like the next generation coming up. It's like, man, like they're growing up in corruption, and like the Bible talks about like if you like guide your I guess like show your kids like this is a scripture, but I forgot how it goes. But pretty much like if you like lead your kid like in the way of the Lord, like they won't like fall or they won't like perish or whatever. They like they'll come back one way or another. And that's all we could do. Like how you said, like your mom, like at the time she knew that was right.
Right.
And then she learned that from her parents, or she learned that from
right.
So all we were doing is learning as we're going, and we're learning the best way we know how to do it.
Right.
Out through generations, and hopefully, like my daughter picked up good habits that she picked up from me, but leave my bad habits behind, and figure out good habits for her, so I could just keep on growing good, not going backwards.
Yeah, and yeah, it's crazy like how much like I come to understand like as a father how much influence you have, like just reflecting back on my childhood. I mean, it wasn't always the best, and I don't think most people were, but it's like I remember when my dad or my mom would say something, that's what it was.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's like the path I had to go on, or whatever.
Yeah, no choice.
Yeah, because you know what I mean.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's more like that nowadays, but it definitely makes me reflect on things that I've said. I was like, maybe I shouldn't have said that, or maybe I shouldn't have been that way, because I didn't give myself. I don't want to say enough credit. That's probably not the right way to explain it, but I didn't respect the position I was in as a father and understand like how that could impact your kids by either reacting or addressing things in a certain way, or maybe being too honest, you know, because that's the way I got brought up. My mom used to tell me straight, you know. But I mean, either way,
it's always good to be honest though, because like,
there's
like I was telling, I don't know, I was telling, but I was like, man, like people who get offended by a lie or by the truth, like either way they're gonna take it the way they want to take it. So if we tell the truth and they get offended, that's on their behalf.
Yeah, it's true.
It is what it is.
That's where I've been kind of coming to is like my brother-in-law always says like, take it how you want.
Yeah.
Like that's not my choice. You know what I mean? Like
it's something that they have to deal with.
Yeah. And like the way I got brought up, like I was always kind of in the middle. So I think for a little bit, was kind of being like didn't want to like ruffle too many feathers or whatever. And I think sometimes that's the remnant. But I'm starting to come away from that. The military kind of reinforced that with the right reason. You can't have like a bunch of different people saying different things. You got to have one mission, one message.
Yeah.
So with that, I mean, the podcast is one way of me breaking out of that, talking about things I want to talk about. Yeah. Mental health, one of them. One thing I want to circle back to is trauma. You talked about trauma. Like I know some people minimize, like even within the military, the branches will minimize against each other. Like, well, like why I wasn't doing, like I do that. I was on the front lines. I was kicking down doors or whatever. And vice versa. Like even like frontline guys will say, "Oh, I wasn't doing this," or I wasn't. Or there's always somebody that had it worse, so that you always focus on them. So therefore, they never get help. Yeah. But circle back to trauma is trauma. One thing I've learned is trauma, and regardless of their experience, even though that is important to the person and their story, and like how it affected them, the symptoms and everything that revolves around the trauma is the same.
Yeah.
I mean, they vary from nightmares, anxiety, outbursts, lack of control, drinking, substances, all kinds of stuff, right? There's like a slew of different things that mimic within those realms. But with that, it's also like, it doesn't matter. At the end of the day, trauma is trauma, and the experience, like the symptoms are pretty much the same. So that's what people should connect on, is the symptoms of those traumas, not necessarily the traumas themselves. Because you can compare all day. But like, if you do that, then you're never going to get to the basis of yours, because you're always going to either minimize, or you're going to like, oh, I'm better than that person because I suffered more. Yeah. You know what I mean? Yeah. It's just like this.
And I feel like even with trauma, like even like how anxiety, whatever, because like when you had trauma, a lot of things come with it. Mm-hmm. And then like when you go to the doctor, they diagnosed you with, or how you say it, with like a name. Yeah. And it's like, well, now you're confessing these things into your life. Oh, I have this because the doctor told me this now. Yeah. And it becomes their identity. And to me, that's a lie. I mean, I think that's a lie from the enemy, because that's like a little soul tie that they're putting on you. You know what I'm saying? It's like I'm telling you, hey, you're this way, and then you're like, I'm putting a label on you already, and then you choose to accept it, and if you accept it, then now you're gonna feel like, oh, I'm sick now, or
Yeah.
I'm this now. I need this now to help me out. You know what I'm saying? But
And I hear that. I'm sorry to cut you off, but I hear that a lot. Like, especially, well, people will be like, "What's my ADD?" It's automatically like it's concrete, or it's this, or it's that. And I don't know why I had the awareness. Like when I diagnosed me with PTSD, I didn't believe it for like almost a year, and then once I accepted that, like I just knew it was temporary. Like maybe for a number of different reasons, like I minimized it because that's other people, it's not me. And now looking back on it, I'm pretty sure it was traumas through my childhood, you know, things that I experienced in the military with my family and so forth and so on in the military. And just the way I chose to deal with things or not deal with them, just kind of manifest in their own ways. But with that, it's also like when they told me that, and every psychiatrist that I went to after that, they had a different diagnosis, you know, because PTSD, PTS, even bipolar, like the symptoms are kind of similar.
Like interlink sometimes.
Yeah, they interlink sometimes. So it's almost like guesswork, right? Yeah. Like you fill out these DSMs, which is, I forget what it stands for, but it's like these generic questions, and depending on how you answer them and like the rating you give them, it puts you in a spot. Right? Yeah,
puts you like in this.
Yeah, label. And that's something that so they can put you in a box. I don't think most people are doing it with the ill intent, but that's just some people accept that label and then that becomes them for eternity. Sorry. And then there's other people that are just like, all right, well, how am I going to get out of it? How am I going to defeat it? And for some reason, that was me. And I think that helped me. So fast forward, there are a lot of people that kind of just identify as that, and that's how they are. They stay with it, and they don't ever try to, or what am I doing in my life? Not only spiritually, but also like physically. What am I eating that's contributing to these symptoms? You know, because like certain foods, certain energy drinks, certain things
spikes it up and stuff.
Like exacerbates those symptoms, and it's just like, oh yeah, like it's getting worse. You know, it's chronic.
And it's cool because I know I was watching the one with you and Gino, and how you're talking about like the crash thing, and how like you're learning how to not like talk positive.
Yeah.
And so like with my tattoo, it's like a dagger with the tongue, and because like I used to have like a crazy mouth, like I was cuss all the time. I would say stuff over my life that I was like, man, like, because the Bible talks about how like your tongue is like life and death, and like whatever you speak out of it, you could speak life into your life, or you could speak death into your life. And like, you could be like, oh man, I never have money. Oh, why are you gonna confess that over your life? Start confessing that I have money. You know what I'm saying? Start saying stuff that's gonna uplift you, not bring you down.
Right.
And so that's something. This tattoo that I got that was more like to check myself, to watch what would come out of my mouth, even if I would get pissed or anything that would say negative against me or against my family. Or, just because, like, you know how like that saying that like sticks and stones whenever.
Yeah.
That's a lie. You know what I'm saying? Because words hurt. Words freaking, they freaking like pierces you, and then those hurt words get carried down the line.
I don't know if I talked about this with Gino during it or after, but yeah, I do. I'm starting to understand that and believe that more so. Like I used to say before, like manifesting and what have you. But whether you want to see it one way or another, but that's exactly what you're doing. Those words you're projecting out in the universe, God or whatever, but you're bringing that upon yourself. But one thing I talked about Gino, I think it was before or after the podcast, I was talking about noetics. Noetics is another science. It's like a neuroscience relatively, but it's a study of what protons do when energy is put into it. So like they would get like, I don't know, I think it's Masudo Emoto. He's a Japanese scientist, but long story short, this is going to kind of put in like in a box, if you guess, to understand. But as ice was freezing, he would ask people to put like jealousy or anger or love, and this ice, when it forms, it would form into a specific geometric pattern, and it was, I believe, it was consistent over all those emotions. So with that energy that you put out, and if we're primarily water, and I'm putting that intent or anything within, like you talking or you're doing it to yourself is probably worse because it's coming from within. And just go back to God and Jesus was talking about I am, the way. But with that, it's so there is something to it, is what I'm trying to say. And then like to kind of put another stone to support that, if they could do that. But I guess an anecdotal stone. I was listening to a podcast with Snoop Dogg, and he was talking about, that album Murder Was a Case?
Yeah.
He said that when he was writing all that, he noticed that when he was writing all that, like the stuff started coming true.
Yeah.
And then after that album, he decided never to like write about like things that he didn't want to happen, because he was talking about how eerily similar that the things that were playing on in his life based off of the stuff that he was writing. You know what I mean?
And it's crazy.
It's all relative.
It's really crazy because, like, even with, like, I guess it's a fact, like, so when I started doing this, whatever, like even with my daughter, like, I'll be praying over her, like, I pray happiness, like, peace, like, blessings, favor, like, I'll just speak, like, life into her for her future, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, it's needed, you know what I'm saying? Like,
yeah.
I mean, who knows what she's going to go through when she gets older, you know what I'm saying? Like, as long as, like, all I could do is just what I could do.
Yeah.
And, but speaking life to people's life too, you know what I'm saying? And yourself too. More importantly, yourself first, because then if you have nothing, I mean, if you're not pouring into yourself, or like you're not allowing God to pour into you, then how can you pour into others and help people out?
Yeah.
If you don't have nothing to give. And it's like, it's just one of the things where it's like, this, I mean, this was pretty much just to put me on check, because I had really bad, this when I get pissed. I mean, usually it's more being pissed.
Yeah.
That I would say stupid stuff that I shouldn't be saying. And, but that's one of the things that kind of like, I check myself to like speak life into my life and my daughter and family. And it's
that's good, man. I mean, that's one thing you should do. And like, why not? You know what I mean? Like, what could it hurt? Even if somebody's listening, like, oh, that's bullshit, whatever. Like, why not?
I know that's what, even too. I heard this thing was like, and we try all these things like drugs. We try all this stuff to make feel better, but we don't give God a chance. And why not? Like, if everything else hurts us, and we do all this stuff to ourselves, then like, why not give it a try? What was it gonna hurt? And we already done everything that we. I mean, there's not a reason, like, why not to try if we try everything else. Yeah,
no, that's a good point. Oh man, well, I appreciate you coming on, man. That was a good conversation, and like, for those that are listening, like, I definitely want to have you on again and like explore other ideas and different things. Maybe continue this conversation further. I was still kind of trying to look over here and trying to see what CERN is, because I know sometimes I don't ever get back to my points. But it's the I'm looking. Freaking Wikipedia is not showing me what the acronym is. I even typed in what the acronym is for it. I thought Wikipedia would have it, but it is. It's given to me in French. I'm going to have to put some of this part out. Council European Rechargeable Nuclear. Well, I mean, that's not the acronym I thought it was, but either way, it's a hadron collider with the two particles colliding.
Oh, yeah.
God particle.
Yeah.
And so with that, it's like creating these big bangs will obviously affect our world as well, and like a multiverse and all these different things. But I think it's all relative, and if we can barely understand like how this world was created, rather than just a random existence, then like there's a lot of other things that we don't understand, you know, and it seems like scientists have been trying to understand it for a while, even black holes and different things like that. We're probably all gonna meet in the middle, you know what I mean?
And then I feel like there's a lot of things that could all the time and effort that we're trying to figure out this stuff could be time and effort for things that's really, really needed in the now.
Yeah, and the whole time we've been in the room.
Yeah. So it's like,
yeah, man,
it's crazy.
It is crazy. Well, maybe next time we come on, we could talk about some other stuff
for sure.
that I don't know, like, history that predates the Bible and stuff like that, and like where that factors into it. And I got some thoughts about that, and it's not really trying to disprove anything. It's more so just trying to understand like where we come from.
Yeah. As long as you're not like lukewarm, you know what I'm saying? Like, as long as you're trying, there's movement.
Yeah. Oh, there's always movement.
So, I'm saying that it's
my mind is constantly moving.
I just feel like God would answer. He will answer.
Yeah, and I think maybe I'm just that thick-headed where I'm just not like I hear it and I'm just like maybe like I'm trying to what's the word? I'm trying to explain it away or trying to be too logical or whatever. But I'm almost, if that's my path, then I'm almost there. I feel because there's too many things that have happened in my life where, like I said, I used to have been dead or like different things. Even this podcast, when you're talking about starting that brand, it's like you're like too far in it to go back, and it's the same thing both with experience and things that I've experienced and where I've been, and I'm doing everything I can not to ever be back there again. And no matter like. Some people have asked like, well, why do you mountain bike? Like those injuries, like you're just hurting yourself. I'm like, this physical pain is nothing. Where I was at, like this is nothing. So I'd rather be doing this than where I was at. Like that emotional pain, I don't think I'd wish that on my worst enemy. But with that, it's also like, I felt like I needed to do something. I didn't know how to do it or what I was going to do. But this podcast is one of them. Mountain biking. And getting outside is another rung, if you will, to bring me out of that dark hole. And it's, I hope to, like, through my experiences that I post and I talk about, like, and I, like, the videos I make, inspire people to at least get outside. And because I think that's relative to have the...
Can't be stuck, like, indoors.
Yeah, because that's its own, like, like we're made or we're created to interact with nature, sun, green, grass, all these different things. That's to keep the balance of everything and keep us sane, especially with technology and information that's just bombarding us all day, every day. And then now they're trying to integrate us. Maybe that could be for the next conversation. We talk about Neuralink. We talk about the social credit score or system and all kinds of crazy. Yeah, it's wild, dude. It's bananas. Like. And I try not to even, like, I try to, like, limit it and focus on what I can control, like, often. Because if not, it'll just drive you insane. But thanks for coming on. I appreciate it. You can find them at... The
Life of John Castillo.
The Life of John Castillo. Or your media pages.
Media by John Castillo.
Media by John Castillo. I hope you guys enjoyed this conversation. Like I said, we always talk about different things here. And if you didn't, then it's fine. You can listen to the next one. It's at the end of the day, it's talk about things that I'm naturally curious about and things I want to learn more about, perspectives and all these different things. If you don't like if you like this podcast, please subscribe. If you want to share it, please share it with a friend. Just trying to have real conversations one-on-one, and just hopefully you guys learn something from it or something will resonate with you and it maybe put you on a different path or what have you. And try to keep this content going. There's other things I want to try to bring up, but we'll save it for another time. Thanks again for your time, and man, appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, man. All right, guys.